There we go.
Oh, we're alive now. Look at that.
Yes, we are.
I can read.
Yes, you can. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream on the Bow Wow Bill Facebook page, YouTube channel, X. Now I'm on Spotify as well. Just kind of piping over a lot of my recent podcasts. But if you're listening on Spotify, I have, man, a couple hundreds of the that I've done on YouTube. And then Facebook started removing them. And so that's why I'm focusing more on YouTube, Spotify. I also have a Patreon page. While I'm talking about that, let me put on a link to my Patreon. Um, Bow Wow Bills. I haven't been too active on the Patreon. I need to go more on the Patreon. And you have a Patreon too, right, Chad?
I sure do. It's patreon.com/barkabout, one word barkabout.
Bark
And
about here. Let me.
yeah.
So Chad has his as well, and
Mm-hmm.
Chad and I have done one of these, maybe two of them. I don't know. I need to go back and look through a couple hundred of them, but it's been years since
Mm-hmm.
we've done this. So,
Yeah.
um, do you want to
In the
give everybody
20 teens.
in the teens before the big old pandemic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how
Yeah.
fast? Well, first, how fast time goes,
Oh, it's
and
ridiculous.
and two, how much we've learned and how much the world has changed since the pandemic. Man,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's ridiculous too. So while I'm going to share this on my personal page, and while I do that, do you want to give everybody an introduction of who you are, where you're located, and what you're all about?
Sure. My name is Chad Mackin, as you can see on the screen. I started training dogs professionally in March of 1993. So it's 50 or 30 some odd years since I started doing this. I've been around a long time. I was on the board of directors for the International Association of Canine Professionals for way too long, way too many years doing that. I did 2 terms as vice president and then 2 terms as president. And then I stayed on for another year as director of education for the organization. Um, I've taught workshops literally all over the world. Well, okay, uh, on North America, in the United States and in Canada, uh, in the UK, and then in Australia and New Zealand. So I've been, 3 out of 7 continents that I've been on, and you can't count Antarctica. So half of the continents that you can really do dog training workshops on, I have been to. So yeah, I love what I do. I work real hard at it and I study real hard at it, and I'm always trying to get better and learn more about what I'm doing, and perform my tasks with more clarity and more fairness to the dogs. I don't know. I'm passionate about it, and I think that's the size of it, I think.
Are you a different dog trainer now than you were when you first started?
Hell, man, I'm a different dog trainer than I was last year.
Yeah.
Like, like in some weeks, I feel like I'm a different dog trainer than I was the week before. It's always a growing thing, but like the industry is so different now, right? Like when I started training dogs in '93, um, pretty much the only solution I had to anything was make compliance pleasant and non-compliance unpleasant, and that was pretty much the whole. Like, you don't do what I want you to do, it's going to hurt. You don't do what I want you to do fast enough, it's going to hurt. um don't want to hurt, do what I want you to do. And that was pretty much the size of, I mean, there were lots of complex strategies to make that happen. Lots of like, I don't mean to oversimplify it, because even back then I thought about it very deeply. I thought about it very I was very always very thoughtful and studious. And I was poor, so I used to go to the library a lot, and I would read books about dog training, and
Hmm.
read magazines, old magazines about dog training. Like, the local library was my best friend back then, because I really wasn't good enough to be charging money for it, if I'm being honest. Now looking back, like there's no way I should have been doing what I was doing, but I had bills to pay, and I had to get things done. So the library was my best friend, but the industry wasn't what it was
Thank
then.
you.
Like we didn't have the force free movement. I think existed, but it was really in its infancy still, and they really hadn't developed any comprehensive strategies. They just had this idea that, they would look at what I was doing and go, there's something not right about that. That shouldn't be how it's done. That shouldn't be the normal. And you know what, Bill, they were right. Right?
Amen.
Like if I saw somebody training dogs today like I trained back then, I'd be, what? Can we curse on this thing? I don't know what your rules are.
Yes, you
Um,
can. You can say
yeah,
fuck. You
I
can say anything
okay.
you want.
I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what do you think you're doing?
Yes.
Um, and that was pretty normal back then. And so, like, as because I've always been a deeply passionate person about this, and I've always been a deeply curious person, and I am fundamentally, temperamentally incapable of taking something as I receive it and leaving it alone. Like when I was a kid, I used to break my toys because I'd take them apart to see how they worked. And then
Right.
I'd be like, "Mommy, I broke my toy." And she'd be like, "Tough, you shouldn't have taken it apart, right?" Um, but like because of that, I've never been satisfied with anything I've ever learned, like whether it be music or philosophy or religion or uh, uh, dog training. I've always had to find out the question that someone else isn't asking or the answer that isn't satisfying and try and find a better answer to that. So, as training has shifted, it's been just a wonderful journey for me to keep learning new things and keep finding new people who can inspire me to do things in a different way. And, I think I used to tell people all the time that, like, uh, those giant sequoias, like that grow out in California, and these are some of the oldest trees in the world, right? And you
Hmm.
look at like the Galapagos giant tortoise, and these things live 300-400 years or some crazy amount of time like that. And you know what those two organisms have in common?
What's that?
They never stop growing their entire life cycle. And I always believe that that's sort of the secret to longevity is to never stop growing. And so it is a constant, there's a constant pressure inside of us to become complacent and say this is good enough. But if you're built like me with this very deep curiosity that nothing is ever good enough because I don't know it enough of it. Like it's not about, it's never been about for me. I mean, I'd like to say that I'm always driven to be a better trainer. Um, and I think I am, but the real driving force for me, the real driving force for me is I want to know more. I want to understand more. I want the questions answered. And by if you do that, you will become a better trainer. But uh I've never been the kind of person who can just repeat something by rote, just practice the same drill over and over again until it's flawless. Like, and there are trainers who can do that. Like they'll spend time practicing, how they hold their food for rewards and practicing keeping their hands quiet before they reward the dog and practice their timing on their clicks or their yeses or their they get very precise about all of these details and they can do amazing things with that. I do not have the temperament for that. I do not have the patience for that. Like I want to move on to the next thing. So um I'll
Excuse me.
never be I'll never be a super precise trainer. That's
Do you
not just.
garner value from watching precise trainers sometimes?
Oh yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think like you watch somebody like Ivan's dog's work. It's amazing. Or my friend Tekla, amazing trainer. The only reason I started learning about precision was because I watched my friend Tekla working. I'm going, that's beautiful. I want to do that dance too. And I do my own version of it. Like I think it's fun. Like there's a challenge in trying to get more precision out of the dogs. So absolutely, there's value there.
Right.
Certainly, um, but and for people who have the discipline to make that their thing, like more power to you. Like you're doing a great thing there, and you're making beautiful pictures and beautiful stories with your dogs. And um, but I'm like I'm not the classical guitarist. I'm like the dirty blues guy.
Yeah,
Just
the jazz or blues or
yeah,
the
I
BB King, where you just have
well,
a
yeah, a little bit of distortion and just with a whole lot of feel, and they're both. I mean, both the most amazing classical guitar player and the most soulful blues player are both doing something beautiful, and I just, my heart is in the second one, not the first one, and that's but it's all about, for me it's still all about having this conversation with the dog, and making things work. And I've become a better conversationalist over the years, and that's my main thing.
Cool. Well, and I think that, just like as we evolve, and you're talking about, as you were just beginning, if you were to look at yourself and the way you used to train dogs, that it's not necessarily a camp thing. I think it's inherent within the human psyche to know when something is right and wrong, and to
Hmm.
know when something can be done differently. And I think that, there is value in emotion, there is value in logic, but we can't get them mixed up. And we use logic, but we also use our emotion to guide our logic. But we can't replace the logic with emotion. And I also think that it's inherent in the human condition to continue to evolve, to innovate, to do things better. And as we have entered into this technological realm with this revolution that I'm so glad I wasn't born into. I'm so thankful I'm Generation X, as well as you are, that
Hmm.
we lived life before this technology where you had to source the information, and it took real work. And where we literally have these devices with any question you can ask, whether it be through search engines, or now we have the AI revolution
Hmm.
happening, and it's changing things. And I think that as you go out and seek that information, and the key is that you have to go out. I think that with this technological revolution makes so much information coming to us that it almost builds a wall around that individual, um, where the topic of this conversation, I wrote down build character.
Hmm.
And there are ways that we used to build character in the past where we would venture out to seek out the information, venture out to seek the mentors, um, and where we realized that we didn't have it all with access to it as an individual. But I
Hmm.
think that things have changed a little bit in our current environment, and therefore it has changed the industry in a way, sometimes for the better, but also I think for the worse as well.
Yeah, I think so. Like, and I have this belief that every generation that's ever existed, going back to as long as people have been able to talk about the previous generation, so probably before we were writing, every generation that's ever existed, I think, has believed that the generation before them had it too rough, and the generation after them had it too easy, and that we were all born in the exact right generation, the perfect balance between discomfort and progress. And Gen X is no exception to that. And I but I okay, Gen X is a unique thing, I think. Because I remember when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, this news program came on the television, right? Or the teaser for the news program, right? Talking about latchkey kids,
Right.
like the new trending thing. And I go, Mom, what's a latchkey kid? My mom goes, you are. Right. And I'm like, what's that mean? She means you come home from school and there's nobody home. Like me and my brother, we came home from school, and we had a key to the house. The idea was the key was like
A
clipped to there. I
necklace.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we had to like at a very early age, I was responsible for making sure I didn't lose my house key in order to get into my home. And if I didn't have my house key, I was stuck outside until my parents got home, like 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 raining or whatever. I was just stuck. Um and so I think Gen X, we kind of grew up feral, especially in the summer times, right? Like my parents really had no idea what I was up to most days, right? Like they'd leave the house in the morning, we get up and we get on our bikes, and oh, the shenanigans we got into, and the crazy shit that we did that no sane child should ever do, and no parent would ever let their child do. And we had that. that feral experience where we had to settle our own differences. We didn't have teachers to tell. We didn't have parents to tell. It's like if you had a bully, you had to deal with it.
Yep.
And one of the things that's crazy to me about it, because got all these 20 somethings who work with me now, um, and it's crazy that like these are adults, human beings, male human beings, and 23, 24, 25 years old, who have never been in a fist fight. That is
That's a
that is
shame, dude.
astounding to me. That's astounding to me, because like that, like I was in probably 50 fist fights before I turned 13. Like
The same with me, man.
it was such a part of growing up. And I'm not saying it was better or worse, but it was different, and it does create a different outlook on life for sure. Um, and but the kids today, and I say that I don't mean to be dismissive of it. When you reach your 50s, like I do, you look at people in their 20s, and they seem like kids to you. Like it's just kind of the way it is,
I'm
especially the early
49,
20s.
so I'm
Yeah.
almost there.
So like, but like, when I like, they've got some things right that we didn't get right. Like I personally think that they have a much healthier approach to work than we do, which is the thing that Gen Xers and Boomers complain about, because they say they have no work ethic. I don't think that's true. I think I think they have a better sense of a work-life balance
Really? In what
than we
ways?
ever had. Well, like, so for example, like when I was coming up, like if your boss called you in on the weekend, you dropped everything, you went in. You didn't say no, right? And these kids are like, no, I'm not coming in. And they do it unabashedly. They don't even make an excuse. No, I can't. I'm sorry. And that's it. They don't they don't say, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. They just say no. They understand that no is a complete sentence. And um I think that's really cool, because I wish, like, I think you've done one of these with Jay pretty recently, right? You had Jay on.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll have him
Yeah.
on again. He's my good
Yeah.
buddy. I love Jay.
Yeah. One of the things that Jay says, which was life changing for me, because I didn't grow up this way. And he said, people who are afraid to engage in conflict, they end up eating a lot more shit in their life than they intend to.
Mm,
And, so many times in my life, I said yes because I didn't want to eat shit. But I was actually eating the shit I didn't want to eat by saying yes. I said yes to things I didn't want to do. Um, I put people off that I shouldn't have put off. Like, oh, I got this plan with my girlfriend, and work calls me, and I would cancel my plans with my girlfriend because work was more important. And and I don't have any of those jobs anymore, right? Those jobs that I sacrificed for, I didn't have them anymore. I don't have them anymore. Um, and I think that there is character in being able to say no. Now, let me be very clear. I don't mean the things that they will do that I hate is they'll call off for any reason. They'll just I'm not I don't feel like coming in today. I'm gonna call off. Like, I think that's some bullshit, right? Like, you have a team that's counting on you, and you've agreed to be there, right? You keep your word. That's something that I think is missing in today's generation. Is if you say you're
okay.
gonna be there, then you be there. You be there. Whether you feel like it or not, whether you want to or not, you already agreed. People are counting on you. Show up. And when you show up, do a good job. Now, we've got a great crew at my place. Like, we don't have the ones who don't come in, and we don't have the ones who don't put the effort in. And that's another thing too, when people are like, oh, kids today. Um, I think kids were always that way. In other words, I think in any generation, there's a whole lot more people who don't get it than do.
Okay.
I think finding hard workers, people with a work ethic in any generation is hard. I think laziness, there's lazy people all this. I mean, man, I had a guy I went to high school with. He's passed away now, unfortunately. But I remember we were in our 20s. He had a job working at Pizza Hut, right? Pizza Hut. And he couldn't come. We were having a big game night at one of our friends' house, and he couldn't come because he had to work. And like, okay, he's not going to be here. And he shows up about 10:30 at night, like midway through his Pizza Hut shift. You're like, hey man, what's going on? And he's like, I got fired. I'm like, what happened? Why'd you get fired? Turns out the dude threw a pizza dish at his boss. And he's like, and he fired me. And my other friend goes, "What? Just for that?" He goes, "Yeah, just for that." He had no clue. He had no clue why he would get fired for throwing shit at his boss, like a metal pizza pan at his boss. He thought that was unreasonable. Like, that was Gen X. That we're not supposed to, like, that's not the story we tell ourselves about Gen X, right? He had no work ethic. The guy could never hold a job more than 6 months ever in his entire life. He never held a job longer than 6 months, except when he was in the military because he couldn't quit, right?
Well, and
And
that kind of speaks to the fist fight thing too. Like
mhm,
if we're a little bit quick to come to too much confrontation, that can be a negative as well,
yeah.
and not being
So,
able
but
to hold our dysregulate and think that
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah, absolutely. Like, violence shouldn't be the answer to any interpersonal. Should not be the answer to every interpersonal conflict, right? Like, I want to be careful. I'm not. I don't believe that's just never excuse for physical violence, but I think, um, I think there should be very strong criteria before you hit that point, and you should know what it is. Like, do the math before you're in that situation, right?
Yes.
Like, you
Well,
have
and
to
do
have.
everything you can to sway yourself away from that situation. That's why I love talking with Jay. And remember the days of Clubhouse,
Yeah.
when it was just an audio only, and I
Yep.
loved it. And Jay was one of my favorite people, and I learned a lot about Jay on how
hmm
eloquent he can speak. And I remember
hmm
talking to him, and I was like, "Man, what do you attribute being so eloquent and being able to get your point across in such a clear, concise manner?" And he's like, "Bro, we can always go the other way." you know, if
Yeah. Yeah.
if people want a confrontation, like I'm happy to be to be that guy because
hmm
I know how to navigate that space as well. My job is to do everything that I can to keep us out of that space, because once I'm in that space, I'm a totally different person. I'm an animal. And so I've learned through the time to navigate and to keep that violent side of me kind of in
Yeah.
a constructive way.
Yeah. Violence is his natural state.
Yes.
Like, growing up the way he grew up, like, violence was his natural conflict resolution uh mode. And growing up the way he grew up, and and he'll tell you the stories himself, but like, that's one thing that I've learned from him, is that he had to learn to not be violent because he was far too comfortable with violence. I mean, like, I'll tell you this story. I remember one time we were at the IACP conference, and I'm sitting. It's the night of the gala, right? Which, so a lot of people are drinking, and of course Jay doesn't drink at all. Like, he's been like straight edge since he was, like, I don't know, 16 years old or something like that. Um, but he doesn't drink nothing. But I'm sitting there and I'm having a conversation at the table, and Jay comes up to me and he goes, "I think I'm gonna get to throw somebody out." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "There's a drunk guy in the lobby and nobody can handle it. I think I get to throw him out." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's go." So I get up and I follow him, and he walks out in the lobby, and he's like, "Oh, he's gone." Like, there was visible disappointment on his face that he wasn't going to. He didn't finally get his excuse to let that part of him out. And whereas most of us would be like, "I'm glad I don't have to do that." Like, so in other words, I I am not. I don't seek out violence, and I wouldn't even say I'm comfortable with it, but I'm capable, right? I'm capable if I have to be violent. Um, and Jay, I feel like in that moment, at least, he was like, "I would love to be violent, but I can't," right? And so, very different, but I guess that's neither here nor there. But it was a fun story. Like, I just remember seeing that look of, like, man, I thought I was gonna get to let unleash that part of me tonight, and I didn't get to. And like, he wasn't it's not like he was super bummed out. It's not like he was, moping about it. But you could see the look of, like, oh man, I thought something fun was gonna happen, and it was not gonna happen. It's like
He's like,
when
"Man."
the dog sees you pick up his favorite toy and then put it on the shelf. He's like, oh, right. It was that kind of level of disappointment. But
So
no,
go back to what you were saying about keeping your word.
hmm
Why do you think that? And we're counting on you. to show up as a team member, why do you believe that has diminished a little bit? Have you thought about
You
that?
know, I've thought about it. So one thing I think, and I've noticed this, you mentioned how things have changed since the pandemic.
Hmm.
I think one of the things that happened during lockdown is people stopped feeling a sense of community.
Interesting.
Um, Moving through space, moving through society, even just simple thing as going to the grocery store and navigating other people there is a constant matter of being aware of how your choices affect other people and being aware of how other people's choices affect you, right? And so like when I like like something as simple as if I'm walking down the aisle and I'm stopping and I'm trying to decide which brand of X I'm going to buy. I'm going, I've been, or maybe I'm trying to decide what spices I want to buy, what seasonings I want to buy, and I'm looking at the
What
bottles.
hairspray you want to buy?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't do that, um, but whatever it is, like if I'm not buying something I know, like, and I'm looking at the options that are in front of me, and I see somebody walking up who looks like they know what they want to do, I will just quietly step back and let them reach in without them having to say, "Excuse me." If I park my cart in the aisle, I make sure it's not in people's way, and if it seems like it's somebody's way, I will move it. So even while I'm looking at the shelf here, if I'm noticing where my cart is up against the shelf, not in the middle of the aisle, and I see somebody approaching, I watch, and if they seem to be, my cart seems to be away, I'll just grab it and move it out of their way. That is something that I don't see people doing anymore. I feel like people drive with less courtesy now. I feel like all of these things, and if you go to the movie theaters, I love seeing movies in movie theaters. I always have, and I still manage to see a fair amount of movies in the theater. Um, but even that experience is different because now people literally talk through the whole movie.
Interesting.
Like, because I think again, a lot of people in their early adulthood, a big part of that childhood, a big part of that growing up happened when they were socially isolated, so they weren't learning how to behave in those situations in the ways that you and I did.
Hmm.
And so they're used to talking to each other while they watch movies. And here's the thing, Bill, they wouldn't be offended if I was also talking in the movie. They don't
Okay.
realize they're being rude because it's not rude to them, it's normal. And so to me, it's this huge breach of social norms, but they weren't raised in those norms. They don't come to believe those norms. And I think so, like, the whole sense of responsibility to those around you is diminished in general. Um, and I think that to me, that's what keeps society functioning. Like, it's just like with dogs, man. Like, uh, no dog is working for a piece of kibble. Well, most dogs aren't working for a piece of kibble. They don't care about that kibble in and of itself. I have dogs that I can throw kibble on the floor and they won't take it. I can hold kibble out to them and won't take it. But if I say sit and they sit and I offer them kibble, they snatch that shit up like lightning because they understand in that context the kibble is representative of success.
I'm going to shut this door. I'll be right
They
back.
okay.
Sorry, my wife's out there watching, and so kibble isn't representative of success
It,
necessarily.
it's
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 just being.
representative of success.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
representative. Okay.
yeah. If they earn it, if they earn it through that sit, the kibble says, "Hey, you did a good job." It's like those gold stars you used to get on your homework when you're like in first grade.
Yep.
Like, like you can go to the store and buy 1,000 of those and put them on everything you write, but they won't feel the same as when the teacher did it.
Yes. Okay. Good
Right?
point.
There's a social part, a social event to that, and the same thing with leash corrections. Right? All these people are talking about, oh, I use a prong collar and I use an e-collar and all this stuff. And I have no problem. I'm not anti any tool. I'm anti tool dependency, which is a whole other concept we can talk about, but I'm not
Yep.
anti tool. But here's the thing. You've got a game bred dog. You got a dog like one of Jay's dogs who will not let go of a porcupine, take 1,000 quills to the face, and will keep going. right? You got to literally drag that dog away from that porcupine no matter how many quills he gets in the face. What the fuck do you think your e-collar is doing to that dog? Like, realistically, do
Yeah.
you think your e-collar is matching that? Fuck no. No way.
Yeah.
What
I
you've got is
remember.
that,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what you've got is you've got that e-collar represents a part of your relationship. And when that dog feels that, he goes, "Oh, I'm damaging my relationship with dad. I'm damaging my relationship with my family. My family is telling me this is not good." It's not the pain. The pain of that e-collar hit at that high level is just there to cut through all the background noise so the dog can pay attention to it. That's my take on it. So, like, the example I'll give is my son when he was little. Now, listen, I have this rule with my kid, and that is number one, he will never hurt me physically. I don't want him to ever believe that he can physically cause me pain. Right? So when he was little, he would want to do these lightsaber battles, right? With these hard plastic lightsabers. And we go, and he would smack me in the shins really hard. Right? Like, and it hurt. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm tough, it didn't hurt. It's like, no, it hurt, but I was stoic. I'm not gonna show him that. I'm not gonna show him that it hurt because I don't want him to think he can hurt his old man. Like, this is some probably some macho bullshit from my upbringing that I'm holding on to that's probably unhealthy as hell, but that's the way it is. Like, you will never think you can cause me physical pain. But I also have this rule that I'm gonna go as hard as he does. Right? So he swats me hard in the shins. I swat him back just as hard. And this little fucker would laugh. Go, "Oh, that hurts." And he'd come back at me harder, like, tough little kid. Kind of proud of it. Kind of proud of that, right? But I could see his mom would just with two fingers go on his wrist like that, and he'd lose it. He'd melt down. Now this kid can take that pain. This kid, I know, because I promise you I hurt him more with the lightsabers than she ever did with her little two fingers on the wrist. I promise you that those lightsabers hurt a lot more than that. But it was the fact that his mom was mad enough to try and cause him pain. That was the hurt. And I think, like, again, some of these dogs who are just bred to be tough as nails, if you think pain compliance is a valuable strategy, you don't understand the dog you're working with.
No.
Right? But yet the leash corrections work. And now that we know it can't be pain, we have to look at where it's coming from. And I think the obvious place to look is social. And when you realize that, what that means is everything can get softer, because if I don't need to cause pain, I just need enough for the dog to register that I'm unhappy. And so suddenly everything gets softer and you still get the results.
Yes.
I think a lot of times people put more pepper on their corrections than are necessary, and that actually causes, again, with a game dog, they go, "Oh yeah, you're trying to make me do it again." Right? Some of the worst situations I've been in with dogs is because I started too high and didn't realize I started too high, and I put the dog into defense. He's like, "Okay, we're doing this now. Let's go. What do you got?"
Yep. That helped
Right?
me, dude. I remember this just came to me right when you were talking about game breeds. Like, you helped me not get bit by boxers anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A long
Yeah.
time ago, man. Like, I would always get bit by boxers, dude, and it was the exact because I was coming in too hot with them and not establishing the relationship and trying to. I would put them in defense pretty quick, right? By just throwing down a correction, and they were like, "What? Do that again, man." Okay, just to confirm, we're in this mode now. And then do it again. Boom, nail me. And I couldn't figure it out, man. It was like one of my least favorite breeds to work with until I figured it out. Now I love it because it's once you get to know them and establish a relationship. And I've always said, like, I don't want the dog to respect the tool. I want them to respect me. I don't want the dog. Same thing with the treat. Same thing with anything that I'm doing. It's added value, but at the end of the day, I want to establish a relationship with this dog, and I want this dog to know me. And even my dog that's laying behind me here, like, she's tough as nails, and she's
Mm-hmm.
gotten into it with so many dogs that throughout the years, because she's just a little scrappy cattle dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she postures with a lot of dogs that are getting my love or whatever. And but man, I can look at her in a way that would make her cower, like just like, I'm so sorry, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't need to have a hammer every time. In fact, it rarely needs a hammer to get that
Yeah.
dog's attention. And it reminds me of the conversation that you and Jay had on the dog training podcast, where Jay was talking about his dad saying, "I'm disappointed in you."
Mm-hmm.
And that my
Like,
dad would say that to me, and it would crush my world, man. I would
mm-hmm.
wish that
Yep.
he would backhand me, or I wish that he
Mm-hmm.
would spank me or whatever over that. And
Yep. My
that's
dad,
what.
yeah, my dad can still gut me to this day. Like, I'm in my 50s now, and all my dad has to do is just go. And I'm like, "Ah, don't hate me, daddy." Right? Like, it's
Yeah,
just
I'd be like, I'm sorry,
like
dude.
it's so um but that's an aspect of respect, right? Like, when I was a kid, I was afraid of my dad because he could spank me. And now, like, my dad's pretty old now. I think I could probably take him in a straight up fair fight. Like, I think I could probably do it. Um, but I never would. I never would. First of all, he never put me in a position where I had to, right? But now I'm afraid, fear is the wrong word. He can hurt me a lot more now than he could then. When I was a kid, I didn't care about that. As now that I have genuine respect for him, it's a very different thing. And my dad didn't do a great job raising me or my brother. Like, he had his own issues that he had to work through. And I feared him more than I loved him for most of my life, or most of my childhood, I should say. As an adult, things got better, and because he did some work on himself. He became a better person, and I think he's a brilliant man now. I think he's a wonderful man, um, and now I can truly respect him, and I don't fear him at all anymore. Like, there's no fear, but um,
But
he can hurt me
sometimes
so much deeper now.
that takes time, and that also takes introspection, and that takes
Hmm.
the three powerful words that I say that every individual human being can say, which is "I was wrong,"
Hmm.
right?
No.
And we have a lot of egos in this industry, and it takes laying down the ego to
Yeah.
do that introspective work, to do that
Hmm.
introspective dialogue. It's not
Hmm.
it's not pleasurable. It's in fact it's horrible when you start to
Hmm.
realize, and same thing when I start to realize all the dogs that I have mistreated during
Hmm.
my process of learning. And I don't I just trust in the fact that they're such wonderful, forgiving creatures that I pray that they have forgiven me. And if there are dogs in heaven, I have debates with my priest all the time about this, that
Your
I do
priest
owe them.
doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't.
The,
You know,
the
it's
Bible is silent on the fate of dogs.
that's right. That's exactly what I say to him, dude. I'm like, look, man, if they give us such joy here, I can't imagine heaven without them. Right. And even if I need God to recreate my dogs, I'm sure that he can do that for me, or whatever. I mean, we can, but he doesn't know. You're absolutely right. None of us do. What happens after
Mm,
this life is over.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a human need, and this is true in all religions that I know of. True, well, not all religions, but like Christian religions, Christian denominations, I should say. There is this fundamental idea that that people are somehow uniquely special creatures, and whether that's true or not, like, from a theological level, if you want to go there, um whether that's true or not, that even if that, let's say that for the sake of argument that it is true that human beings are this special exception created in God's image, and this thing, this biblical idea, and that they hold a special place in God's heart. Let's say that all that's true. You can't infer from that that therefore no other creatures are in heaven. That's a
Right.
leap of logic that is unfounded, and it's one of those things that, you know, if like there are a lot of things that are taught by the church. I assume you're Catholic, but because you said
Yes,
priest,
I
but I
am.
won't, right?
Yep.
So like this is something I happen to know a whole lot about because I used to participate in a very, very active Catholic slash Protestant debate forum on Yahoo groups back in the day.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, and I was raised Catholic and I was very Catholic at that time. My brother just celebrated his 1 year as a deacon in the Catholic Church, and I often
Oh,
joke that
fantastic.
he's more Catholic than the Pope. Um,
I have sitting here on my desk my little
oh, yeah,
St. Paul, who's my confirmation saint, and everybody just sitting
yeah.
right here always. So,
So like not to get too far into this, but but the thing is in Catholicism, there's a whole lot of stuff that is taught as tradition, lowercase t, not capital T, which is something different.
you're right.
That you're not required to believe as a Catholic,
Nope. And
right?
it's not a
There's
sin
a
if you
whole
disagree with it too. It's nothing. Right.
yeah. There's so like that's one of them. The fate of animals. There's no official Catholic doctrine on the faith of animals, like that I know of, on the fate of animals after they die. Like most Catholic theologians will tell you that heaven is for people only, but that is not an official dogmatic position of the Catholic Church. And as far as I can tell, it never has been.
Nope.
So feel
Well,
free to
there's a
believe in.
yeah, but feel free to believe in. But I believe that all my dogs are gonna be there licking my face, and the
Mhm,
dogs that I have worked with, I owe them a sincere apology, and I just hope that they see that I continue to do this introspective work to serve them better because this is what I've traded my life to do, to be a proper steward and a proper teacher of other human beings on how to interact and understand them as 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 fully as we are capable of,
mhm,
because we are interspecies, we are different species, and we're trying to communicate with the species that we will never ever know truly until we actually become a dog, how they interpret the world, time, all that stuff,
mhm.
and that's
Yeah,
all I can do.
yeah. As George Cockrell always put it, no one's ever interviewed a dog,
That's right. God bless
and
George, man. Speaking of
yeah,
George,
giant of a man right there, man. I miss that guy so much. Like, um,
oh, you're gonna get me crying, dude. Don't
yeah,
like he was
I'll
one of
st
my main listeners here, dude, and
mhm.
and I think that
Beautiful soul.
yeah, beautiful soul, and I think that that's something to remember as well, is that we
Hmm.
stand on the shoulders of giants today.
Hmm.
And I think that that's one of the reasons why I like the keep your word, and we're counting on you, is that as we progress in our age and as we grow and as we teach, that we want to instill in the younger generation to do better, um, to understand, and that we're counting on them to serve the dogs better than we are today,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think like going back to the keeping your word, like I think like because we've been all over the map, and you know me, if you listen to dog training conversations, you know that I am extremely prone to rabbit holes, and we've hit a few already. We've gone into Catholic theology for crying out loud.
I am too. Like if you listen to any
You
of
know,
these, that's why I don't have anything
yeah.
written down. We just go where we go, you guys, and I like that format. So
But
keeping
like
you
it's one of the things that I picked up on pretty early in life. One of the things that I figured out because I've always had a philosophical bent to me, um, was that it sounds cliche to say, but it's so important, and it hit me at a point in my life where it was really super important, and that is there's only one thing in this world, only one thing that cannot be taken from me, and that's my honor. No one can take that from you. And part of honor means, you honor your commitments. You keep your word. You do. If you say you're going to do something, then by God, you're there. Or you're going to die trying. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't always affect the circumstances, but if I look you in the eye and say I will be there tomorrow, you can bet if I'm not there, something has happened that it was insurmountable. It was never because I didn't feel like getting up in the morning. It was never because I had a better offer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
uh, if like I can't tell you how many times like I've been scheduled to work and somebody said, "Hey, we're gonna do this awesome thing today. You want to come with us?" It's like I would love to, but there are people counting on me. I said I'd be there. And I'm not the kind of guy because listen, you can call some people and you go, "Hey, I know I said I was going to be there. I said I was going to help you move today, but I got this other thing. Would it be that big a deal if I didn't show up?" And people are nice enough and kind enough. They go, "Oh, yeah, go do that thing. It's fine." But when you even make that request, what you're doing is you're putting that person in an awkward position because they don't want to say no to you. And you know what? If you do that to me, I'm going to say, "Yeah, go. Fine." Because you just told me I'm not important to you. You just told me
Mm.
that your word isn't important to you, and you've just moved over a category in my head. I will never tell you that. I will never say, "Hey, I just changed my opinion of you," because I don't want that to motivate you. I don't want I don't want you to be, "Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. I should have come. I'll come. Don't worry about it." No, if you say, "Hey, do you mind if I crap out on this thing that I told you I would do?" No, I don't mind. Go ahead. Go do it. I'll figure it out. And you'll
Yep.
never hear a word about it from me. But I will know from that point forward that you are not someone who keeps your word, and I will never see you the same again.
Now,
And
on the flip side, say that they showed up, they did their work, and then after the fact, you found out that something great was calling to them, and they could have participated, but instead they chose to keep their word. Now, what is that to do to the stock in their
I
book?
mean, that's the thing is you never know somebody's character until they're tested,
That's right.
right? Like, Jay has this thing he says about gameness, right? Or that the gameness is the chief virtue.
Hmm.
It's the primary virtue because you're only virtuous insofar as you're game about that virtue. So for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what that means, what gameness means, gameness is in the dog world is that willingness to commit and push through whatever adversity gets in your way, no matter how bad it gets. So the goal for a game dog is what they call dead game, where the dog will die before he gives up. Once he sets his mind to doing something, nothing will dissuade him. That's that dog on the porcupine that I don't care how bad it hurts. I'm not letting go. I'm not giving up. Right. Which by the way is not a good survival strategy. That level of
Yeah.
gameness is not healthy. It is not healthy. But it is, but but anybody can tell the truth when telling the truth doesn't cost you nothing,
That's right.
right? It's when telling the truth is going to cost you something that you find out whether how important it is for you to be truthful. When you have to admit to doing something shitty to somebody you love,
That's right.
right?
There's that
That's
saying, like, hurt me with the truth, don't comfort me
mhm.
with lies.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like it's easy to be faithful if you're not tempted.
Mm.
Like, like I have never been tempted to cheat with anybody I've been with by a gay man. Like never once has a gay man come up to me and I said,
Oh, really? No, just kidding.
maybe I might hit that. It's never happened.
Never.
It's easy for
Me
me to be
too,
faithful in that,
dude.
right? Right. But there have been times where there have been women hitting on me that I've had to that I have very I've had to make very very concerted effort to be faithful,
Right.
right? And and I wish I could say I've always won that battle, but
Succeeded.
unfortunately I haven't. Like especially when I was younger, you know. Now I'm good. Now I'm good. But there was a time where I struggled with that. I struggled with temptation that way. Um uh
That's what I like about being Catholic, going back to the Catholic is
mhm.
realizing that we are all human and we're all
Mhm.
sinners, and we all have temptations. Now,
Mhm.
what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do now that
Mhm.
this temptation is here? Are you going to allow for that pleasure to overtake, right? Your earthly desire to overtake your your path that you are on to live holy or honorable or
Mhm.
high integrity or live with excellence. And one thing about integrity that I've always said, and I say this to any new trainers or any young person, as I'm getting older, I have to tell them, like, look, integrity takes years and years to build and 1 second to destroy.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of
I
like what
mean,
you're saying too.
let me be careful how I answer this because I think that's true and not true at the same time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like and it's more of an intuitive response than an intellectual one. So give me a second to think about it. I think everybody you know who's got any integrity has fallen down before, has made the bad choice, has made the weak choice, has caved to temptation before. Um, that's part of learning how to not cave. Like I
That's right.
remember one year I was with a buddy of mine and we were on a road trip and he was drinking and he met a girl while we were drinking and ended up going back to her hotel with her. And and he left me to fend for myself in a strange city. Not cool. Not cool. But but I wasn't going back to our hotel until I had collected him, but I had to wait while he did what he did. And he came out, he came out, met me in the street. We went to the bus stop because we had to take a bus to where my car was parked. And he's sitting at the bus stop. It's like, 3 in the morning, and he's just crying because of what he'd done because he had a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, really beating himself up about it. And I gave him about 15 minutes of that. And I was finally like, I've got enough of this. I've had enough. I don't want to hear you blubbering anymore. I don't want to hear any of this, right? Um, and I said, hey, man, listen, guilt is the most useless emotion in the world, except for one thing. It does one thing for you and one thing only. And that is, I want you to, right now, I want you to remember how you feel right fucking now. Remember
Right.
this. And the next time you're in this position, I want you to hold on to this. I want you to remember this feeling because this is what you're trying to avoid in the future. And once you've solidified that, once you've made that a core memory of you, then you got to let that shit go. You got to let it go because it's not helping you anymore. Once you have made your point to never feel this way again, it's not helping you anymore. Right. And that's the way I feel about it. Sometimes integrity, we get our integrity through those moments where we fail. If we have a conscience and we have that moment of deep regret and remorse, that's how we learn not to be. I'll give you an example from my own life. This is not this is a dog training story, so don't worry, I'm not gonna get all weird. Um, but my Malinois Jessie, first Malinois I ever trained, she came in as a board and train. And I fell in love immediately because this was the first dog that when I went to put her away after a training session, she was like, wait, I want to do more. And I was not a cookie trainer then. I didn't know. Again, I was not as heavy as when I started, but I still didn't really understand positive reinforcement. I understood leash work. I understood, you know, I mean, I didn't train with a toy. We didn't play tug. We did bite work with her to get the poison out because she would start biting random shit if I didn't do it with her. But
Yeah.
I didn't see that as a training modality. I didn't figure that out until I met Jay years later. But she was trained on a leash and collar in a pseudo Keeler esque fashion. Not too harsh, not too heavy handed, but because she was eager to please. She loved the game of training, even if it wasn't for food and toys and all this shit. Like that's the thing about Malinois is they're a cheat code. Like that's why every trainer loves them because they make us all look good. Like Like if you can't make a Malinois look good, you had no business
Yeah,
handling dogs,
you need to hang it up.
right? Right. But the problem is she was a Malinois in the sense that she would take a fair correction, but she would absolutely not take an unfair correction.
Okay, so you climb the line.
Oh yeah, she would come at you in a heartbeat if she thought you were being unfair to her. So she had a very strong sense of injustice when it came to leash corrections,
Okay.
um, and I came from a mindset like this was at this point I could have been writing books for Caesar at this time. Caesar wasn't a thing yet, like he wasn't on TV yet or anything like that. He was still training dogs, I'm sure, but you know, dominance hadn't entered into the vernacular of common people yet. But as a dog trainer, I was all over that. Like I was all on that tip, which is a whole conversation we can have about why I think that's sort of nonsense now. But at the time, I was like, I have to be in charge. I have to be dominant.
Hmm.
I don't think I ever called myself alpha, and I'm very proud of that now, because there was a time where that would have been real easy to do. But we got into it over something. I don't remember what it was. I think I was trying to do the doggy push-up thing, down, sit, down, sit, down, sit. And I don't know, after about 4 or 5 times of that, she's like, "No, I'm not downing. I like this is stupid. What are you doing? Like make up your fucking mind and tell me what to do and I'll do it. But this going back and forth, I'm not into it." And so I get my back up because I'm a young man and I'm got way too much ego and not enough common sense. And I go, "Oh no, you're gonna fucking down." And she goes, "No, I don't think so." And so I grab that leash and I give her a harsh correction. And she goes, "Nope, I'm not doing it." Give her another correction. She goes, "I'm not doing it." And I don't know how many times that happened before we end up in a real knockdown, drag out fight. She's coming at me and I'm trying to, defend myself. And, this is not a proud moment. This is to any young trainers here, this is not how you train dogs. This is how you be a arrogant asshole with a dog who is counting on you to keep them safe. There's nothing good about this story, nothing proud to be proud about. This is not a brag. This is my shame. And I'm being very, very open about it. I want to make that very clear. This is not a good story. Um, and we're in it. We're in it good. Like she's coming at me hard and I am doing everything I can to win. I'm not trying to de-escalate. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to push through. I am going to come out on top of this. You do not put your teeth on me under any circumstances. And I remember this moment. She's coming at me. She's coming at me and she's pissing and shitting the whole time.
Yeah.
And like I didn't process it in the moment. I did not process it in the moment, but when everything was calm, boy, I tell you, that broke me. When I understood what she was saying, I don't want to be doing this to you. You've left me no choice. I hate this. I'm terrified of what's going on right now, but my genetic predisposition does not allow me to do anything but keep coming at you until you're no longer a threat to me. Man, I was supposed to love that dog. My job was to protect her. My job was to take care of her. My job was to guide her and make her a better member of society. And somehow the fact that she didn't want to go sit and lay down and sit and lay down and sit and lay down at my whim, at my superfluous, unimportant whim, just because I said so, I acted like I had a right to demand that of her. And I believed I had a right to force her to do that for no good fucking reason. Just because I have thumbs and she doesn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a moment that integrity was calling me, and I just took the phone off the hook. I
How long
failed
ago
her.
was that?
Oh God, that was mid 2000s
Okay.
because she passed away in like 2007, 2008, I guess. Um, so it was, it was before that. And we worked it out. We had a great relationship eventually. Um, and I never put her in that position again. Like I learned my lesson.
How did you approach her
But
after that? What lesson did you learn? And I mean, I've done this too, where I mean, it's when dogs piss and shit themselves because they're interacting with me. I mean, I don't want that at all because I mean, one, I mean, it's messy and it's gross, but two, it's telling me. I mean, I've never shit myself when I'm fighting. I know that, like, I've talked to Justin Rigney, I've talked to some cops that,
hmm
when we train for stuff, like, for instance, for confrontation of bullets being fired at us, when we're
hmm
training for it versus when we're really in it,
hmm
there's no way to really be in it until you're in it.
hmm
And I was like, "So what happens when you're in it?" And auditory exclusion is what I hear primarily what happens to humans
hmm
when they're in a firefight. And he's like, "Man, you never know. I've seen guys shit themselves." And to me, I'm like, that is the ultimate fear response. Like that is the ultimate life or death response.
hmm
And if I just cause this to happen within this dog that I'm supposed to care about and supposed to communicate, I'm so wrong for doing
hmm
this. And there's been times
hmm
too that it's also been where I've had dogs that are feral or not had any engagement whatsoever, and I'm not doing anything, and the dog is pissing and shitting all over themselves. And I know that I'm in the right too because I'm not interacting with that dog. I know that the dog needs to get through this moment and realize that they're safe with me. And
hmm
then when that happens too, like, I mean, but yeah, man, when that happens, it is a pretty big deal, and it shouldn't be just shrugged away of like, "Oh, this shit just happens." It's like, no, this is a pretty pivotal moment in the life of this animal that they're perceiving a life or death instance happening
hmm
right now. Um,
Yeah.
but it's
You
something I think
know,
that people need to hear, especially new dog trainers. Like this isn't normal, and I mean, it is
no.
normal, but it isn't. Does that make sense?
There's a lot of trainers who normalize it. There's a
Isn't
lot
that
of training
crazy?
approaches that normalize it. And I was one of them. Like until that moment. Like I wish I could say that's the first time I would ever been in a knockdown drag out with a dog that I didn't need to be in because I wish I could say that, but it's not like you. Every male boxer I trained for the first 2 years of my career came up the leash at me, every single one of them. And it was every one of those was my fucking fault. It was because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak boxer and they were trying to tell me, bro, I need you to settle down. I need you to settle down. And I was misinterpreting because boxers will do this thing where you have fight, flight, or freeze. Boxers have this fourth one, which is fool around, right? When they get stressed, they don't start acting goofy. And my ass took that as an insult. Like, I'm serious. And they're like, and I'm like, fuck you, settle down. And they were trying to defuse the situation. And I didn't allow them to do that. So a whole lot of my early career was spent putting dogs in defense in a way that they didn't need to be because I didn't have the right mentors, I didn't have the right experience, I didn't have the right background. I was woefully underqualified. I was woefully underqualified when I started. And but this was my dog.
Mm,
And I had never had a dog come at me while shitting and pissing.
mm,
This was the part where I realized she didn't want to do this, she couldn't help it. There was
mm.
something inside her that was compelling her to keep coming at me because everything in my head said if she's that afraid, she should stop trying to bite me. Right. Which is what
Yeah.
I was going for at this point. It was just, you've got to quit trying to bite me. Right. And again, because all I had was a hammer, the whole problem looked like a nail. Right? I didn't have any idea of you know what, I can go ahead and take the loss on this one. I can de-escalate. I can walk away. I can, because again, in my head, I had that stupid idea that if I let the dog win, she's gonna think she can bully me now. Because I had this stupid idea that dogs want to bully us into submission. Like this whole fucking dominance thing. Like, you know, this is my best friend here. I love my dog and she loves me. But if I show weakness, she's gonna take over my whole fucking house. That's not your friend, bro. Your friend doesn't do that. Your friend doesn't come in your house and say you better watch yourself or I'm taking over. That's not how friendship works. If that's how you see your dog, you can't see your dog as your friend. That's not a partner. That is an adversary lying in wait, biding their time till they get the opportunity. Fuck that shit. That's not a dog. That's not. But in my head, that's what I was thinking. Because again, I was dumb and young, and my head filled with a lot of ideas that 4 fucking seconds of serious contemplation would have told me was wrong.
Yep.
Right?
Or saying maybe you shouldn't down now. Let's walk around over here and let's try it over
Yeah.
here. Or take a moment to change this
Yeah.
freaking the picture right
Yeah.
now. Let's just
Yeah.
take a moment. Obviously, we're at a point of contention. Let's diffuse this a little bit. Let's move. Let's
Yeah.
get together, and now let's try it over here. Okay, awesome. You know,
But
and
in but yeah, but in my head I thought that would be showing weakness, letting her win because it was a contest in my head. And here she was just trying to fucking survive.
hmm,
And so I had to do a lot of soul searching after that, right? Um and you asked me before how I approached it afterwards, and this is something I've told this story a few times, and every time I tell this story, people ask me that question, like, "Well, what was the next thing?" And to be honest, I don't fucking remember.
yeah,
I don't remember how that situation ended. I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember what we did next. I don't remember how I made up with her. I do know that at some point that day, I made a commitment to never put her in that position again, and I didn't. She bit me one more time after that, and it caught me completely off guard. I was surprised. Like literally, she had gotten a paper towel out of the trash can
hmm,
and she had dropped it. She wasn't even eating it anymore. And I saw it on the ground and I said, "Ah, oh, fucking Jesse." And I just went to pick it up. I wasn't even mad. I wasn't gonna do anything about it. She's gonna pick up the paper towel and put it back in the trash. But this is how fearful I taught her to be. I went to pick up the trash and she came from about 4 feet away and bit me on the hand. And I have this belief that sometimes a dog needs to know what you're gonna do when you disagree. And she bit me on the hand, and I said, and it was a good bite. It was not. It was a bite. It wasn't a nip. It was a bite. She put holes in my hand, and it just said, "No, go get in your crate.
yeah.
Go on, crate up, or whatever. Load up. I think is what the word. Sorry, load up, Jesse." And she looked at me, and she went in her crate, and that was it. But she never offered to bite me again. Um,
Fucking
for the rest of
Malinois,
her,
dude.
yeah. But I was in the wrong. Like and she was she was with me. Like we were good for the rest of her life, and she made me a better trainer. And you want to talk about heaven, man? Like the fact that I survived all those dogs early in my career is a testament to how resilient and forgiving dogs are.
Yes.
Because a lot of those dogs should have never been my friends. Never should have been my friends. Um, and I regret that it took my own dog to teach me that. Because this was again, I started training in '93. This was in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. So for more than 10 years, probably, I'd been putting dogs in that position. I mean, not every day, not every dog. Like it was a pretty rare thing, but like, Jesus, I can't remember the last time a dog made a serious attempt to bite me.
Yeah.
Like I've had dogs nip at me before because I startled them, or whatever, or fearful dogs. I pushed too far and had them defensively nip at me. But I can't remember the last time a dog said, "You know what? I'm gonna fuck you up." Like, and it's not that I don't take dogs who will fuck me up. It's that I'm pretty good at not making them feel like they have to, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, and I think that happens, Chad, when we first enter into this industry, or well, first off, we're younger,
mm-hmm,
right? And we're more apt to welcome a confrontation, right? And it's like, yeah, all right, here we're fighting now. I was the same way, like, okay, and just
mm-hmm,
ready for that fight. But as we grow, we realize there's a different way of doing this. There's a
mm-hmm,
that doesn't just work the same, it works better. Because now that's the cornerstone is trust and love, and to build the foundation, which is the relationship, right? And the
mm-hmm,
relationship starts with that cornerstone of like, look, dude, you can trust me. Okay. You're not ready right now. Okay. We'll wait. And then once the relationship has been established and that rapport is power. And once
mm-hmm,
a rapport has been built, then we start to build the foundation, and we start to build the first floor, then we start to build the second floor, third floor, as high as we want to go. But we have to have a solid foundation, and
mm-hmm,
and that's what. And as we grow, and as I talk to trainers that have been around, and I've talked to trainers that have been training dogs like George and Linda, that have been
mm-hmm,
training dogs longer than I've been alive.
mm-hmm,
But I've also talked to trainers that have started in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years,
mm-hmm,
right? And that's my goal of these conversations, is that if any trainer hears the stories that we share and gains value, that at the end of the day, we're in this for the dogs.
mm-hmm,
And to realize, to take stock of your own emotional status, your well-being, and know that there is a way to do this better. And I don't just talk to balance trainers. I talk to force feed trainers. I talk to veterinarians. I talk to anybody
mm-hmm,
because I want to talk to anybody that's passionate about dogs.
mm-hmm,
And the common thread that I see is the longer, longer that you've been in the game, the more that confrontational attitude kind of goes by the wayside, and we figure out a different way of kind of how to communicate to build a good relationship. Um, and don't get me wrong, like there are times that I have had what I call a come to Jesus with the dog, right? Where
mm-hmm,
I'm like, hey,
mm-hmm,
no, nope, this isn't. But it wasn't like it used to be, where I would have a much longer come to Jesus, or um, a much more thorough understanding of like, no, you need to listen to me. It's like whenever I have to come to
mm-hmm,
Jesus, I reevaluate it on a much more deeper level with myself as well. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I'm good with that conversation that we just had. Let's try this again
mm-hmm,
later, and hopefully we have some progress here. And I also
mm-hmm,
understand that there are times that we take a step back so we can take a few steps forward.
mm-hmm,
Um, but that's the commonality that I see with so many conversations that I've had, is the the diffusion of that confrontational attitude. And it might just be the young, pumped up, like, dude, I see myself in so many of these young trainers, dude. And look at that. A lot of it I miss about myself because I am older. I just got over the flu too, by the way. So if I cough or anything, I'm last week it sucked. But I also know that I am a totally different trainer than I was when I first started. And that's what I hope
mm-hmm,
people realize, is that at the beginning of this conversation, now you're always like, there's, I always want to, I'm never satisfied with the answer. I always want to kind of reevaluate. I want to get a different perspective. I want to get a deeper understanding of what we're talking about. And there is no finish line here.
No,
We're always
no.
learning.
You could have 1,000 lifetimes and you wouldn't barely scratch the surface of dog behavior and training. And if you think about it, like dog training as we know it today, like modern dog training, like I mean, people have been living with dogs for like 14,000 plus years. Like before we
Yep.
had riding, we were living with dogs. Like I'm not trying to say that this is new, but dog training as we know it now is a relatively new thing, right? Like, um, probably going back, you know, like pet dog training, for example, like working dog training has always been a thing, I guess, but pet dog training, that didn't really come around, I don't think, until probably like become a thing until like the 1960s, right?
Well, and I
When
just read this book, man. So, have you ever read the book Angels of Our Better Nature?
I haven't, I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
You need to read it, man. I mean, it talks, excuse me. So, Angels of Our Better Nature is a history of why violence has decreased.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And people think, whether it's the media or whatever, that we're living in a dangerous time, and we are not. We're living in the most safest time in the history of human beings. But
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, there's also these very important moments that have happened. And one, as you mentioned, the 60s, that was the evolution of human rights, women's rights, gay rights, and animal welfare, animal rights.
Mm-hmm.
Just came about in the 1960s, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think you're right. Like the root of the industry that we have now stemmed from, or the stock, I guess the roots were, but it stemmed in the 1960s and it has started to evolve and become what it is today,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of the evolution of the human and civilization and safety and
Mm-hmm.
even it's a very it's a very concise book. It's pretty long read, but it's
Mm-hmm.
great. I highly recommend this book.
I'll check it out. But the point I'm getting at is like 1960 to 2000, that's 40 years. So 2000 to 2026, that's now 26 years. So that's like 66 years
Yeah.
that we've been doing this, which if you're young, that sounds like an amazing amount of time. But as somebody who's, 53 fucking years old, that's nothing. Like that's nothing. Like if you think about other endeavors, plumbing was like fucking invented by the ancient Romans, right? Electricity, electrical engineering, 1800s, right? Um, uh, computer science, the 1940s or 50s, right?
Automobiles,
Yeah,
planes, flying, right? Like all this.
right. Like dog training is a very young art,
Hmm.
and like any young art, we're just getting started. And we like to look at it as if we have this really complex and this really deep understanding because we understand like there are like if like I said this on my last podcast, if you were to stack up everything that is knowable about dogs right now, that we have information that we can concretely know about dogs and dog training and dog behavior right now, if we stacked all of that together in a pile next to all of the things that we have no fucking clue about, all the things that we know we have no clue about, it's gonna be like this is what
Yeah.
we know. This is it's off the screen. The camera can't even pick up my hand. And if we go, that's the things we know we don't know. And then you have things that we have no clue exist. I mean, we're a little razor thin slice of the knowledge that is out there for us to have. We don't know shit. The most knowledgeable one of us out here, the most knowledgeable motherfuckers on the planet about dogs and dog behavior, in 100 years, we're gonna look like fucking Luddites.
Yeah.
We're gonna look like complete fucking morons. They're gonna be looking at us like we look at doctors who used to fucking pack wounds with fucking manure. That's what we're going to look like. And we think we're so enlightened and so smart, and we are just like none of us deserves the confidence that we have right now, because we're like blind children stumbling around in the dark trying to find our way, and we think we have eyes to see. But in 100 years, we're going to look like idiots. We're going to like, and that's just the way anything is.
That's the way
Like
the
that's the way.
human evolution
So
is
yeah,
onward and upward.
exactly.
And
Yeah, so we're all kind of dumb, and we need to be aware of that. Like humility is super important. Like I tell this everybody, like whatever, whoever you are, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're, you know, uh, how many awards you've won, and not just dogs, the whole life. Everybody in the world is certain about something, 100% certain that they cannot be wrong about one thing that they're absolutely wrong about. We all have one, at least. Right?
that's
We all have one at least. And and when you understand that, and this is not about you, this is about me. In other words, like when I say these things, these are reminders to me too. Right? Like there's a man named Daniel Kahneman. And Daniel Kahneman has this unique thing is he is the only psychologist to ever win a Nobel Prize for economics.
okay.
And that's because him and his friend Amos Tversky created the field of behavioral economics. It didn't exist until they did it. Now, the only reason Amos didn't get a Nobel Prize is because he passed away before they gave it to him, and they don't give those out posthumously. So Daniel Kahneman was the only
Oh,
one who
he's
got the
Thinking
award for
Fast
this.
and Slow. I've read that book.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and uh, uh, and so in that book, I love to share this because I really that book was amazing.
Yes, it's
And if
fantastic.
it's a bit deep. If you want to, if anybody listening wants a more palatable, digestible version, there's a book called The Undoing Project, which is written about Tversky and Kahneman, which has a lot of the same material as Thinking Fast and Slow, but it is much less academic and much more digestible for people who don't want to go really deep into the nerd stuff. Um, but in the introduction to Thinking Fast and Slow, Kahneman says something to the effect of, it is not a matter of you read this book and you stop doing these things. I wrote the book and I still do these things,
Yep.
right? This is our nature. This is what we do. We try and simplify things even when it's unjustified to simplify it. So when I say these things, when I remind people of these failings and these flaws that we have in our thinking, I'm not trying to accuse you of it. I am reminding myself and anybody who happens to be in my vicinity that this is something that we all deal with. I'm not above this. I am not beyond this. And one of the things that frustrates me a lot is when I talk to people, they say, "Oh yeah, I have, I've worked through all my logical fallacies. I've worked through all of my biases." No, you haven't. And the fact that you think you have tells me, like C.S. Lewis one time said, there's no sure sign that somebody lacks humility than them thinking they are humble enough.
Mhm. Well,
Right?
that's even talking with my priest. Like that's a sign of pride, right? Which is the number
Mm-hmm.
one. But yeah,
I pride myself on my humility. I'm the king of humility.
you really.
Like I'm just joking. I wanted to have a shirt made that said "more humble than you." I thought
Well, I think
I
that
just
that goes back to what I was saying. Like the most powerful thing that we can say as an individual is, "I was wrong."
mhm.
Right? Humble yourself to know, like, dude, do you really know this? Are you there?
Yeah.
Is there something about this that maybe you are wrong? And
So
that's
so
what I
when
love
I
about debate too.
yeah, so when I was a teen, I was in a 12-step program for drug abuse.
Okay.
It wasn't AA. It was not AA. It was Palmer Drug Abuse Program. It was pretty local to Texas. I don't know if they ever got out of there. Uh, but they had like all 12-step meetings. Before the meeting, they would read the 12 steps, and they had, "Oh, hey Jay, what's going on?
What's
We
up,
talked
Jay?
about you before."
Yeah.
um, Quite a bit actually. Your name's come up a lot in this one. Uh, but they would have this, they'd read this, every 12 step has these series of things they read at the beginning. And one thing that they said that I will never forget, because I heard it so many times, but it really, really hit me real hard. And it was, honesty is the freedom from self-deception, willingness to admit wrongs, and fairness in our dealings with others. But that first part hit me real good. Honesty is the freedom from self-deception. Wow.
Hmm.
What a motherfucker that is, right? Freedom from self-deception. Before you can be honest with other people, you have to be honest with yourself. You gotta literally be able to, you gotta be free from your own, because I can't tell you the truth if I don't know the truth,
Yeah.
right? Like I was, my last relationship, when it was breaking up, there's this whole thing. I don't want to, spill too much tea. I don't want to um, put anybody's business out there, even my ex's. But there was something going on, and she was lying to me about it, and I was really perturbed by it because I knew she was lying, and but she would look me right in the face and tell me I was imagining things. It wasn't real. And speaking of Jay, I called up Jay and I was like, yeah, yeah. And Jay said, no, dude, she's lying to herself. You're
Mm.
just caught in the crossfire.
Fucking Jay,
Yeah.
that guy.
And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. She couldn't tell me the truth because she couldn't admit the truth to herself.
Hmm.
Right. And it's the same thing. Like I can't tell you the truth about my motives if I have not done the work to know my motives. And I cannot tell you the truth about why I gave that dog a correction if I've not done the work to understand whether whether my emotions were leaking into that correction or whether it was a smart choice. I can't tell you whether the reason I can't tell you the truth about why I decided not to give a dog a correction if I haven't done the work to know why I made that decision, that I'm not letting my emotions interfere. And that's the motherfucker, because we all lie to ourselves. Did you know that judges across the board statistically are more likely to give harsher sentences to people right before the lunch break or right at the end of the day? If you come at the beginning of the day or right after lunch, you're more likely to get a lighter sentence. Now,
Interesting.
I promise you that if you put these judges into a lie detector and ask them if they were giving, if they were letting their hunger or their mood affect the sentences, they would all tell you
No.
no, and they would all pass the lie detector test. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing, and therefore they cannot do it freely, or with the integrity we're talking about. If you will not do the work to understand why you're applying a different standard to this person and that person, or to this dog or that dog, then you do not know. You can't be honest about what you're doing to that dog when their client asks you why you did that. But we all know this, fundamentally, emotion drives behavior. And if we're not really honest about our emotions, if we're not really honest about where we're feeling, what we're feeling, and how that affects our judgment, we can't compensate for that. You
Yeah, we
know,
don't know. We
like,
don't know what we don't know, and it's just like, how do you distill that, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, how do you know if you're lying to yourself? How do you know? Emotional. I mean, there's emotional signs. There's dysregularity. There's lots of. I mean that. I mean, that's just such a rabbit hole, dude. Of like
Yeah,
how do we
uh,
get to the found to the core
I
of ourselves, right?
I tend to default at I'm probably lying to myself.
Mm,
Like I tend to default that if I think, let me phrase that. If I think I am really clear, I default by assuming that I'm not as clear as I think I am.
mm.
If I can sense the conflict, if I can sense, I feel conflicted about this, then I can unpack that. But when I'm like, oh yeah, this is right, there's probably something I'm not paying attention to, right? Um, but I think a lot of it comes down to, like we said before, like you do the math ahead of time. You understand what the parameters are. When is it okay to cross this line and when is it not? Like, um, and if you understand that, like we'll just say something simple as an e-collar, right? I shouldn't say simple because good e-collar work is incredibly complex, but you know, if you are out with a dog and you got them on a 50-foot line and you're working the e-collar and they're caught up in the scent and you say here and you tap the button and they don't look up at you, like you have hopefully before that moment you've already decided what your next step is. How many times do you tap that button before you escalate? And what is your process of escalating? Because me, the next step is I hit the vibe, right? If the
Yep.
vibe doesn't work, I hit the boost. My boost is set at 10 points, right? If the boost doesn't work, then I start walking, I start
Ratcheting it up.
moving, right? But I have a process that I use. And because I have a process that I use, that prevents me, or I should say reduces the likelihood that I'm going to have an emotional response and let any frustration I'm feeling get out. But that's the other thing too. I have developed a hyper awareness for my own sense of frustration. Like if I feel my jaw start to clench when I'm working with a dog, I put him away right away. I'm done. That lesson's over. I don't just power through. I don't go, oh, I gotta finish this. We're done. Because once I hit that point, I once I get it, because what's happening when we do that, when we get in that rage system kicks in, that frustration system kicks in, we are in a threat response. And one of the things that we know about threat responses is that they destroy creativity. They make us less likely to see opportunities and make us more likely to see threats. We don't think
Hmm.
clearly. We don't look for benefits. We look for danger. And if I'm working with a dog and I'm looking for danger and not opportunities, I am in the wrong headspace to build that dog the way I want them built. And I can fake it. Frustration begins where understanding ends. Yeah, I think that's probably a part of it. I would clarify that to say that um, frustration, the rage system, it this is we know this, like it triggers when we feel blocked, when we feel impeded. So yeah, when understanding ends, yes, or when we feel like this should have solved the problem and it didn't work. When, like, one of the things that will frustrate me more than anything else is traffic lights, right? Like for me, being interrupted is a huge source of frustration.
Noises
And it's
frustrate the hell out of me,
yeah,
like
and that's not because
certain
I don't
noises.
understand. Yeah, it's not because I don't understand. It's that I'm trying to do something and this stupid light has gotten in my way, or this noise has gotten in your way. Um, Frustration is the biological response to feeling like we are being blocked or impeded, and that's where all anger comes from.
Hmm.
According to Panksepp, at least that's where all anger comes from, is that feeling of being prevented from doing something we're trying to do. And
Okay.
and so when I hit that point with a dog, I know that until I get out of that state of mind, I am not going to see them correctly, which means I'm not going to have good judgment.
Hmm.
Right. But sometimes just being able to say, hey, I'm feeling frustrated because of XYZ, there's an interesting experiment. And I wish some people can tell you all the names of the experiments and who did them and when. I don't have that. My memory's not that good, but they did this experiment where they would put people in an fMRI and monitor their brain.
Hmm.
And they would show them a picture of a face, and then they would ask them a face that was showing an emotion, right? Maybe anger or sadness or whatever. And then they would show them a bunch of other faces, and they had to pick the face that was showing the same emotion as the first face. And when they did that, the emotional centers of the brain lit up in that fMRI, just went like a Christmas tree as they're trying to process these emotions, right? But then the next round, they had them try and pick the emotion from a list. And as soon as they started looking at the list, the Christmas tree went dark and the rational centers of the brain lit up.
Okay.
So when you're trying to find the name for an emotion, it brings you out of that emotion,
Makes sense.
right? So if I start to feel my jaw clench, I start to feel my shoulders tense up. And one thing that I think is super important talking about, development, personal development, being aware of where you feel things in your body, like where the emotions present in their body. Like when I get frustrated, I feel it here, and I feel it in my shoulders.
Yes.
Those are my frustration points. Like when I feel that tension in my sinuses,
And you'll even raise
I
up your
know,
shoulders a little, like you'll carry
yeah,
yourself a little differently too.
yeah. And when I feel that, so when you start to learn to recognize those things, then you start to go, oh, I am feeling frustrated. When you name it, and then you go, there's another piece of Jay wisdom. I'm glad he's listening because I'm talking a lot of, I'm saying a lot of great things about him. The tendency sometimes to go, I shouldn't be frustrated right now. I'm mad at myself for being frustrated, or I'm being weak, or I'm being right. I like, instead, what I do is I go, oh, that's interesting. It's interesting that I'm feeling frustrated right now. I wonder what that's about. And when you hit that point, it doesn't make the frustration go completely away, but it gets my body out of that feedback loop.
Get you into an observer role as well instead of the
Yeah,
participant. Like it's kind of puts you,
exactly.
at a 30,000 foot view of like, oh, this is
Hmm.
interesting. What's, and
Yep.
then like the fast,
It,
like the initial fast thinking and versus the slow of like, okay, now let
hmm.
me slow down and look
Hmm.
at this at a more methodical way.
And I remember C.S. Lewis one time wrote something to the effect of, you can study your toothache or you can experience it, but you can't do both.
Yeah.
Right. Um,
Like, it literally
and
changes your mind. Like, and same
yeah.
thing when you're in frustration, when you're in fight or flight, we're not
Hmm.
contemplating. Like, we're not, because
Right.
contemplation takes access to all parts of bouncing of the left and right brain, and you're in a mode, and
Hmm.
it's a psychocybernetic mechanism that happens in our brain, that keeps us in survival, right? And and it's automatic. It's something that we don't have
Hmm.
control of. We can observe it, and when it happens, and we can let it dissipate in its natural
Hmm.
cycle. But there are key elements to this that are um, a survival mechanism, both in our brain and the
Hmm.
dog's mind as well.
Yeah. So when I'm working with a dog, I really want to stay in that seeking system, which is the curiosity system, which is the let's go find out what's going on system. Let's get more information. Let's collect resources together, right? Like and so to me, if I'm in the seeking system, the training is going to be fun. It's going to be good for the dog. It's going to be good for me, even if it's a quote unquote bad lesson, even if things aren't going well. Dog's not sitting when I tell him to, or not sitting straight, or is confused about sit versus down, or whatever. Now my job is to solve that puzzle, which is it's like a video game,
Yep.
right? How do I solve this puzzle? And I got my friend there to help
And
me
now it's an
solve the puzzle.
interactive puzzle,
Yeah,
like
we're
the video
playing it
game.
like Jay says again, how do I get this thought bubble here into that head over there?
Hmm.
It's a game of trying to fill in the gap. It's how do I communicate non-verbally with this creature and get them to understand this very clear picture in my head and make it clear in their head. That's a fun game. It's a
It is.
challenge. And if you approach it that way, you can enjoy it. And that doesn't mean we can't use corrections. It doesn't mean we can't say no. It doesn't mean we can't ever disappoint the dog. But if we're in that headspace, then we can be relatively sure that if we're doing those things, it's coming from a place of making the game more fun and more interesting, and not from a place of trying to impose our will.
Yeah, trying to be
Like,
the despotic dictator of like, you will
yeah,
do what I say, or you will be punished, and it's my
I
way or the highway.
yeah, I tell you the first real big change that happened in my training. This was before that story with Jesse. I was already working on this, but I still had bad habits that snuck in. But when I picked up How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend by the monks of New Skeet, There's a line in there who basically it says something to the effect of training is not imposing our will on the dog in the name of obedience.
Hmm.
Something to that effect. It's not imposing our will on the dog in the name of obedience. Or maybe it was obedience isn't imposing our will on the dog in the name of training, something like that. But this idea that the best work is not about imposing our will on the dog. Boy, that's a big one. That's a big one for a lot of, for the way I came up and for what balance training was. At that time, it wasn't even balance training. It was just training. It's just what was being done, right? Like there wasn't, like I said, there were force-free trainers out there, but they were largely, outside of the dog training community at large. They were, you know, they were like, there wasn't a big force-free movement. They were kind of considered the crazies back then. And they
Yeah.
still are by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
Well, some of them
but I,
are, and some of the other side are too. I mean,
well,
it,
yeah, these extremes where, um, like I heard a story. I mentioned this on a comment today, and I wish I could remember who told me this story, but um, somebody had taken a dog to, pretty sure it was a Corso. Could have been another big mastiff type breed, but I'm pretty sure it was a Corso. Taking it to a very well known, a very popular trainer, not somebody that I associate with, um, but for aggression issues. And this guy slapped the knee collar on the dog and kept going up in the levels for 10 or 15 minutes or so. Couldn't subdue the dog with the collar. Told the owner the dog was untrainable and needed to be euthanized.
fuck.
Um, and then they found a good trainer, and from what I understand the dog is doing well. Um, and that's somebody who absolutely thought that they knew what they were doing. It was 100% certain that if like, because there's a mindset in the balance community, there's a statement that they'll say, which I think is categorically untrue, but uh, a lot of people still believe it, and that is this idea that you cannot stop a behavior without punishment. And the reason that statement exists, the reason people believe that is because what's the definition of punishment?
To stop.
It's something
Right.
that reduces the
Right.
likelihood that a behavior will be repeated,
Right.
right? So so you go, well, then that means if something makes a behavior less likely to be repeated, then it must have been punished, right? But if you think about it, you know, you have the option between dial up and high speed Wi-Fi. Which you're going to choose?
My high speed Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but it's not like you were ever punished for using dial up.
No, but you just made a choice.
It's just
There were
less
both
efficient.
options, right? Yeah, one was
Yeah,
less efficient, and one.
yeah. So like here's the thing about training that's super important for any trainer out there, especially young trainers who are trying to figure out the way they think about it. Like the quadrants are a mess. And I'm not saying they're not useful, because they are. I'm saying that early on, especially early on, they're going to cause more confusion than clarity. Like there
Yes,
reaches a point where they create clarity, but early on they create more confusion than clarity, and it takes a long time to get over that. So I don't like to think about it. I don't hardly ever talk to my clients about quadrants. And if I do, there's
never.
a very specific reason. Um, but what I do talk about is this, that there is only one behavior rule in the whole world, one law of behavior that every being on the planet will always follow. And I don't believe we really have a choice about it. And that is, every being on the planet will choose the path that they believe will be most rewarding.
Okay.
Now, sometimes people say, "Oh, well, it's not rewarding for me to give my money to a charity or tithe my 10% to the church." Maybe it's not, but it's more rewarding than keeping it to yourself and feeling guilty about it, right?
I
Oh,
think it's
it's
rewarding.
not. Well, but you see what I'm saying though? Oh, it's not rewarding for me to get up and go to work when I don't want to just because my team is
Or
counting
work
on me.
out, or yeah.
Yeah. But it's more rewarding than the alternative. like, because it's important to me to be somebody people can count on. So I would feel bad about not doing it. So we're all doing with the thing we think is going to be the most rewarding. When that drunk driver thinks he can probably get home on his in his car, that's the path that he thinks is going to be more rewarding, because that's better. That seems better to him than getting a taxi or an Uber home and then having to get an Uber back to the bar the next day to pick up his car. Like, he's wrong in most cases. He's wrong, but he thinks that his perception is, this is my smart choice. This is my most rewarding choice. So with that being the one law that we recognize that we live with, then we have to understand that our job as dog trainers is to shape or help the dog shape their perception of what the consequences, what the outcomes of different choices are going to be, so that the choice we want to them, we want to present to them, we want them to be, want that to be the obviously most rewarding choice. Now, this is where it gets, so when you look at the quadrants, then it becomes really simple. Well, okay, I want to make something less rewarding, I add punishment. I want to make something more rewarding, add reinforcement. That is the most ham-handed, surface level view of it at all. Like, that's true. That's absolutely true. If I want to make something less rewarding, I make it more painful. Yes, absolutely. Or I make it more unpleasant. I make it cost more. Absolutely. I want to make something less or more rewarding. I add value to it, or I reduce the cost, right? So we can increase the cost or reduce the value, right? We're adjusting value judgments though, right? I make it cost more, or I make it feel less enjoyable some way, right? But there are lots of other ways to adjust value. Like, for example, scarcity. Like, all of these traits used to be a really big deal when I was not when I was coming up, but actually it's in the Bill Keeler book. Like, stop talking to your fucking dog, right? Like, a lot of balanced trainers will say, "Oh, you talk too much to your dog." Like, I remember there were some trainers who say they can't. The people, they would challenge their owners to go 3 days without talking to their dog,
I've
right?
done that.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was a real popular thing, and
And
it
not
worked.
touching too, and not touching too,
Yeah,
like talking,
and,
if you get through that, then don't touch,
yeah,
right?
and it and all of that works, but why? Because it's creating a scarcity environment.
Yes,
Now
exactly.
your words are scarce, so they have more value. Now your touch is scarce, so it has more value. So why do trainers do this? Like, um, they use existential food for training. It's a scarcity mindset. Like, I'm going to make my dog's not food motivated. Let him go hungry for a couple of days. Now he's food motivated. We can increase the value of something by reducing access to it. And likewise, we can reduce the value of something by adding access to it.
Hmm.
Right. So, for example, Mark Goldberg has this thing that he used to say. I love this. Like, people will call him up, go, "My dog runs away," and he'd say, "Why? Does he hate you?"
Fucking Mark, I love
And
Mark.
they go, "Well, no, he doesn't hate me." Well, why is he trying to get away from you then? Because if you love somebody, you don't try and get away from them. Why is he trying to get away from you? Well, he's just wanting to explore. He's just wanting to look at stuff. He just wants to explore. Okay, so why don't you explore with him?
Yep.
Let him explore. Go with him. So the opportunity to explore is not this rare thing that he only gets when he gets loose, but it's something he gets to enjoy doing with you. Now we've given access to this, and we've made it. It's still rewarding, but we've made it less uh, compelling because he gets to do it regularly, right? Like a candy when you're a kid. If you grew up like I did, my parents hardly ever bought candy. There wasn't candy in my house growing up. I got candy at Christmas, Easter, and Halloween,
But there
right?
was candy at grandma's house, and dude, I knew exactly where that bowl was, and I hit that thing right when I got in and right
Yeah,
when I was leaving,
but
you know?
but here's the thing: as an adult, I can buy candy any fucking time I want. Like, I don't need anybody's permission to have candy. Like, like, I don't know if you've seen the meme that I see it go around sometimes. You've probably seen it because you're on the internet, but it's like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you can go buy a whole cake and eat it yourself. There's nobody will stop you, right? Like we have, and because I can have candy anytime I want, it's pretty easy for me to leave candy alone.
Yep.
Like, I go to grandma's house, I don't run to the candy dish. It's pretty easy for me to, right? Another analogy that I like to use for this is, like, let's say you're going to visit your friend of yours is having a party, right? And you're like, "Man, you're 10 minutes from my work. I get off work at 5. I know your party's not starting until 6, but can I show up early? I'll help you set up because I don't want to go all the way home and then come back." They're like, "Yeah, sure. Come on, help me set up." You go, "Great." So you get there and there's some hors d'oeuvres and shit that are out, and your friend's like, "I'm gonna go finish getting dressed." you finish doing all this stuff. Just don't eat any of the food till the guests arrive. Right now,
Or
if you had a big lunch, that's easy.
yeah,
That's easy, no problem. But if if you skipped breakfast and lunch because you're working real busy and you just can't wait for dinner, boy, that's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for you to not eat that can or eat those hors d'oeuvres. It's good, like you're gonna put a lot of effort into not doing that because now the scarcity is the wrong place, right? And so, one simple way we can adjust behavior without resorting to punishment is adjusting the perceived value of it by adjusting scarcity. Right? We have
and
that available to
just
us.
in the environment, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing that we can do is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also taking that observer role that we were talking about earlier
Mm-hmm.
and observing the
Yeah.
environment. What
Mm-hmm.
tweaks can we make here? What tweaks
Mm-hmm.
can we do that's going to make this dog think differently about
Mm-hmm.
their experience here
Mm-hmm.
already?
And that's the other thing too. How many dogs did I punish out of fear coming up?
Mm,
Right now, here's the thing. People will say you can't do that. You can't punish them out of fear, and that's technically true. But what you can do, and I'm not saying this is good training, but I like to tell the truth. And even if the truth is somewhat unpleasant, what you can do is you can take an option off the table. You can punish away the lunging and growling and force the dog to think of it a different way. Like, in other words, if my default is no longer allowed, I have to find some other way. And if you take away that I'm going to lunge and growl at this other dog away long enough, they'll go, hey, I haven't lunged or growled at a dog in a long time and nothing bad has happened. That does work. I'm not saying it's a good strategy. Please understand that's not how I would do it. That's how I did it before, and it did work, and that's why it did work. Right? Because not because the dog I was changing the punishment wasn't changing the dog's emotion, but taking away that environmental control forced him to come to peace with the situation he was in. Right? Now I can do that differently. So if you bring to me a reactive dog now, and I want to work on reactivity, if we're at that point, we're going to say we're going to focus on reactivity. Here's what I do. I have a training room, which makes things so much easier. But I will put you in the training room. I'll put you usually in a folding chair with a bowl full of goodies for the dog. You can have them too, but they're dog treats, so you probably don't want them. I'll put you in the folding chair with a bowl full of goodies, and I leave the room and I go back to my daycare and I grab a dog. And I grab a dog that's going to be pretty calm and not react if that dog blows up. Right? And I come back to the door. I wave at you through the window. When you nod at me, you're ready. I'm open the door. I don't even come in the room. I just open the door. And as soon as I open the door, you start putting food in front of that dog. I don't care if he eats it or not. I don't care. If he's knocking it out of your hand, trying to get the dog, let it fall on the floor. That's fine. Then after a few moments, I'm going to shut the door and you're going to go, all done. You make the blackjack hands, all done. And the food stops. And then a few moments later, I'm going to open the door again. You do the same thing. And with most dogs, it takes about no more than 10 reps before they start barking at the door and then looking back for the food.
Yeah,
Right? Where's the food? Where's the food?
we've changed the
Right? And
picture.
then by 20 reps, they start to get agitated when you say all done, and they stare at the door waiting for the dog to come back.
Hmm.
Right? I've changed the way the dog feels about that dog's presence. I
Like
haven't punished
no,
anything.
I want you to come back. Like it's like
Yes.
instead of the bark and get away, it's like
Yeah.
come back. Like
Mm-hmm. And then I switch dogs out. I do that with 3 or 4 dogs. By the 4th dog, I'm walking the dog in the room and I'm walking around the room, and the owner's walking their dog around the room. And in most cases, that's all we have to do. And every once in a while, there'll be a dog that still barks out of habit. I always say the hardest time for me to quit smoke when I quit smoking, the hardest time for me to not smoke was when I got in my car,
yeah,
because that was my habit. Start the car, light a cigarette. Start the car, light a cigarette. And Bill, I'm going to tell you that problem persisted until I got a new car.
yep.
I never got in that car and didn't want to reach across the dashboard for that pack of cigarettes that was never there. And that car never got clean to me. I got a new car, no problem. Not even think about lighting a cigarette when I start a car. But I promise you, if I got in that car today
You'd probably
and
want to
started it up,
smoke.
I'd want a cigarette, right? So that's how ingrained that was. But it wasn't because I wanted nicotine, because that's just what I did in that situation.
The power of
So
habit.
Yeah, exactly. Great book too, by the way.
Yes.
So sometimes with those dogs, that's where we add the punisher. When the dog is half-heartedly going ruff ruff, and you go, hey, knock it off. And my number one punisher for that, a squirt bottle with water.
Okay.
Squirt, squirt, stop it. Oh, that kind of sucked. That's my number one punisher for reactivity is a squirt bottle with water. And it like, I'm not saying this is 100%. Like some dogs just want to murder other dogs, and that's not reactivity, that's
I
aggression. You
don't
got
think
to handle that
anything's
differently.
100%, man.
Yeah, no, of course not. But
Right.
like the problem is when you say stuff like that, people always come up with the same fucking kind of lame argument. Well, yeah, what if you get a real dog? That's fine for cupcakes. What if you got a real dog? Like, dude, I've done this with dogs that have attacked other dogs before. I don't know what you call a real dog, but yeah, there are some dogs that are like, no, I want to murder other dogs, and I don't care what you say, and those are going to be different. That's not going to work for them.
And I've
But
done that with
as you,
dogs that are this big that want to murder that dog. And I've done it
yeah,
with, dogs that are
yeah,
way more than me.
yeah.
And then I send them to John Sparks. No.
Yeah. But most of the time there's no punishment involved in that. And the other thing, and this is super important too, when we look at training, we tend like that's the quadrants are just for operant conditioning, which is a very small part of experience. I can't stress that enough. Operant conditioning is a very small window of what makes dogs dogs. Like what we do day to day throughout the day with our dogs has a lot more to do with their choices than what we do in the training room when we're orchestrating situations for them,
Dude, I got this
right?
book too, by the way. I'm
Hmm.
looking for it. But yeah, why you speak about that?
But so like I feel weird talking when you don't have your headphones on because you can't hear me. But
Because you
um
mentioned operant conditioning. And when I was
uh-huh.
hanging with Ivan, dude,
Hmm.
and Ivan and I are going to come on this about
Hmm.
the handbook of operant behavior, but this book is freaking arduous
Wow.
as hell. But just
Yeah,
like
it
you
looks like
said,
it.
man, and this is a college textbook, but this is just like what you said. This has to do with pigeons, rats,
Hmm.
not just
Hmm.
dogs, right? But
Hmm.
probability of eating, post time eating. But just like what you said, these are
Yeah.
limited, operant
Hmm.
conditions are
Hmm.
limited, and they're mapped very easily as well.
Yes, exactly. And so I do want to look at that book at some point in time. That looks like it will make my head hurt in a good way.
It's a
Um,
good book.
but but like so I always say that there's four things that dogs need to learn. Four things that dogs need to learn to live well with people. And the first one is they have to learn to be bored without making
Yes,
boredom someone else's problem, right?
I love
And
that.
by the way, these rules are true for any being that wants to live with other beings. Like this is again going back to this whole thing about society we talked about before. These are things that you have to do to be a good member of any community,
Yes.
right? You have to be able to be bored without making boredom become someone else's problem. Like I always say that one of the most valuable things that my parents ever gave to me was dragging my ass to church every Sunday from birth until I was 17 years old and could say I don't want to go anymore, and they would respect that. Not because of the great religious instruction I got there. It was a Catholic mass. There's no instruction there. Like
Yeah.
to a kid, it's stand up, sit down,
Oh
kneel. Like
boy. Me too. And
like
when I was a kid
like
in Catholic mass.
right. But what I learned was be bored and tolerate it. Don't fuck around and make and distract other people with your boredom. Like I got good practice at that, and that has gotten me through so many airplane rides, car trips, and board meetings. Like it's super valuable. So that's the first thing. Be bored quietly and without becoming a problem. Second thing, you have to resist temptation, or as Sapolsky puts it, make the hard choice when the hard choice is the right choice. Right? You have to be able to do that. Third, you have to be able to regulate your emotions because guess what? You're not going to be able to do the second for long if you're not regulating your emotions. Because the more emotionally aroused you
Or
are,
the
the less
first.
impulse control you have. Huh? Or the first,
Or
yeah.
or the
Good
first,
point.
right?
Yeah, good point. Because the more emotionally aroused you are, the less impulse control you have. Literally the parts of the brain that are responsible for making good choices get less blood flow as your arousal level goes up. Physiologically, you lack the capacity to control yourself at higher, and at some point in time, that shit just shuts off completely. Right?
Mm-hmm.
like because you're in a full-blown stress response and now you no longer have the ability to self-regulate, and that's biology. That's not willpower, man. That is biology.
That's
And
right.
but speaking of willpower, willpower is a finite resource, right? Because the brain is a physical organ that is ruled by the laws of physics and chemistry, right? It needs energy to function, and in most cases that energy is glucose. Now if you're in a ketogenic diet, it's ketones, but assuming we're not putting our dogs into ketosis, they're running on glucose, right? And you can put people in stress tests or concentration tests, and you can see their glucose levels drop as they force themselves to concentrate.
That's
People do
right.
not realize what a high energy consumption willpower is. Like they don't realize that, right? And people like to believe they have infinite willpower. Like we like to believe we can just dig deeper. So if there's a guy hanging up by a bar over a chasm, we all know sooner or later he's going to fall down. Some of us might know that it's because his fingers no longer have the neuro or the chemical ADP in them to keep contracting those muscles. But you don't have to know that. You know, at a certain point in time, those hands are going to come loose no matter how bad when he falls, nobody's going to go, yeah, he didn't want it bad enough. He didn't try hard enough. Like
Yeah.
we're going to assume that there's a physical limitation to that. But when it comes to our brains, like you see people, I've been in this situation before. I think most people have. You're having an argument with somebody that you love, somebody you care about, and you hear shit coming out of your mouth that you know you shouldn't be saying.
Yeah.
And you're like going, shut up, dude, shut up, stop talking. And still, bleh. And you're watching in horror as you're saying things that you know you're going to regret saying. Right. And then what happens in the morning? You go, oh man, you wake up and you go, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I don't know what got into me. I'll do better in the future. I should have tried harder. And what that says, this is the interesting thing. People are more willing to believe that they chose to be mean and cruel to somebody they love than to even entertain the idea that they were not in full control of their faculties at that moment. We feel better about ourselves knowing we hurt people we love than we do believing that our willpower was in any way infringed upon by our biology. That's fucked up. Like
It
that's
is.
fucked up that we would rather think we're an asshole than to think that our willpower was in any way affected by our biology. But it is. Willpower is a finite resource and you will run out of it. And the higher your arousal, the more of that glucose you're going to burn trying to do that. So if they can't self-regulate, they cannot keep making the right choice when the right choice is the hard choice for as long. So they learn to self-regulate.
I love it.
The fourth thing they need is they need to be able to read the room. And this is J Jack right here, the windows. His windows theory. Fucking amazing, life-changing shit if you fucking grasp
Yeah.
it. Right? So
Windows of opportunity, window
yep.
learning what window are we in right now, right? And even
Yeah. And how do I move from one window to the next?
that's right.
Right? Super valuable stuff. If your dog has all four of those things, they don't need anything else. Right? But if you give them all four of those things, then when you are confronted with that situation where you want the behavior to stop, a lot of the times it's already stopped. You don't have to do anything to make it stop.
Dude, I'm looking
It's
at it and
already
it's burr. Like that's beat because it's board, resist, regulate, and read. So burr.
huh.
So you can
That's interesting. Honestly, I've been trying to think about a way to thank you, Bill, because I've
yeah,
literally I was taking
burr.
notes about
Yeah.
how I can create that. Yeah.
Yeah, Chad's
So I
burr
like that.
method. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it, man. I mean, the board,
Yeah.
and I think that that's
Mhm.
a huge problem right now, man. I what was the book I just read? Dr. Melanie recommended it to me. Here, let me see, because I was messaging her. So two things too, man. Like after this, let's not get on another tangent because I got to get to these comments. We got a ton of comments that we never got to, but and then I want to get to your comment earlier today.
Okay.
Comfort crisis. So bored. There's a book
Mm-hmm.
called Comfort Crisis, and it talks about that. Like we are uncomfortable. We have these electronic devices that immediately once that boredom starts creeping in, boom, the
Mm-hmm.
device comes out. And it's changing us, man. Like we are not okay with being bored. And we need that. And I think that maybe
Mm-hmm.
this is something that is in the new generation with technology being at the forefront is that, and dude, we have all these shorts. I love TikTok, man. I love these shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Instagram shorts. I can't tell you how many times I've woken my wife up at night just belly laughing at some of these shorts, man. They're genius, and they're
Mm-hmm.
very entertaining. And I mean, just like you said with the grasping on the bar, like they have it down to a
Mm-hmm.
science where they'll challenge you, like you can't do it for 90 seconds. And we look at that 90 seconds and be like, I could do anything for 90 seconds, and boom, you're off of that. So
Mm-hmm.
they've calculated it to a science. But and then the resist temptation, we touched on that earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
With integrity. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens when we don't resist that temptation, when we give into it and then we feel that crushing guilt,
Mm-hmm.
remember that guilt. And just
Mm-hmm.
like the value of forgiveness, like we dogs forgive us when we're wrong, thank God, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been wrong. And we forgive others when they're wrong, but forgive yourself. Just don't forget. Don't forget this feeling, this crushing guilt that has just happened to you because you have
Mm-hmm.
given into the temptation. So resist temptation. Dude, the
Mm-hmm.
regulated emotion, especially now. I mean, and I don't want to get political or anything. I get the ICE protests. I get all these Trump stuff, but all I see, and I get their points to it. Like I'm not one way or the other. I like to evaluate
Mm-hmm.
situations, but what I see is a dysregulation of emotions too often when I see these protests or whatever I see. And I know that that's clickbait or whatever, but I just all that goes through my head is, how are we going to have a conversation of where we can find, a middle ground, or where we can find where we agree or disagree, if we cannot regulate our own emotions to have a constructive conversation. And of course, reading the room. Um, Now, reading the room, the windows, I get that. Like the dog needs to know what window they're in. Um, and people, I guess, I mean, when you read a room, like it reminds me of, and we'll go back to church, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's things that happen in the church, and there's things that happen in the parish hall. I mean, we're still on the
Mm-hmm.
same grounds of this church,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a way that we act in the church, and there's a way that we act in the parish hall
Mm-hmm.
that can be, almost opposites, where we're having fun and having huge conversations, but then when we're reading the room or coming into a different
Mm-hmm.
environment, we are reverent and we're quiet, and we
Mm-hmm.
are, even though it's bored, it is the way that we are properly supposed to act.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, I mean, that's a real dramatic thing, but it's also the same thing as like if if your best friend just tells you they got a cancer diagnosis, you're not
Hmm.
going to, hey, check out this reel, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
And some people
you're
might
gonna,
want to, because they don't want to sit in that grief.
right,
They don't,
right, but
they want to
yeah,
fix it. They want to make it
mm-hmm,
better. And that's not what our friend wants, man. Like,
right.
we can't fix it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like we tend to go with these big ideas for, and I do the same thing. I tell people the same thing. You behave differently at a party than you do at a funeral, right?
Right.
Like I do the same thing, but so much of what we're teaching dogs is not you're at a party or a funeral.
Yeah.
It's so much smaller. The differences are so much smaller. Like you notice that again, like you notice that your friend is a little subdued without thinking about it. You match your energy level or you adjust your energy level to that. You go, something's wrong here. Let me figure out what's going on. You don't walk in, like, unless you're completely oblivious or rude, you don't walk in acting the same when you see that somebody's struggling. You know what I'm saying? You get respectful, you get concerned, you get like, and what we want, a lot of this is about the dog reading the subtle changes, not these big dramatic changes. Like, what do people talk about that they love about their dogs? Like, my dog knows I come home in a bad mood and they know to just come put their head on my lap,
Yeah.
right? They know. Like, it doesn't have to be these big changes, but reading the room is super important. And they can't do that if they're not emotionally regulated, right? Because with the thing is, most dogs, going back to resisting temptation, most dogs, impulse equals action. They
Mm.
think and act at the same time. I always say, your dog can't make good choices or bad choices if they can't make choices. And so needs to be a moment between impulse and action that we call reflection. Like I like the word reactivity gets a lot, not so much anymore, but when it first started becoming popular, old school dog trainers like, what the fuck does reactive mean? All dogs are reactive unless they're dead. Every dog reacts. Like, but reactivity is a human psychology term, right? It's a human psychology term, and it's the idea of having on almost involuntary response. The response is so emotional that the behavior is a reaction, not a choice. There's no reflection. So we're looking to add reflection into these dogs, right?
Hmm.
And so that you cannot resist temptation if you can't have they all tie together. But here's the point I'm getting with that: we can build all of that without ever having that dog that stooge dog in the room. Like, we can make that behavior go away without ever addressing it in many cases by giving the dog those four skills. And so you don't need punishment to teach those four skills. Not necessarily. Can you use it to help with that? Absolutely. Can you rely on it entirely? Yes, you can. That's what I did for a very long time. But can you do it without it? Absolutely. With most dogs in most situations, you can do it without using any form of what we would call, now, negative punishment is different. You're going to be using negative punishment, removing good
Right.
things, making good things end.
Well, you
But
did it with the dog. I mean, you did it with the dog in a way. I mean, and this is where, as a beginning trainer, this can get confusing because as a quadrants, if you but as like when you brought the dog to the door and then shut the door and took it away, right?
mm-hmm.
And in a
Yep.
degree, that could be negative punishment because we're getting a behavior to stop by removing something,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? So,
But my point is the strategy, in the operant world, the only way to stop a behavior is with punishment. If you're going to break it down to the specific operant things, yes, but the world is bigger than operant conditioning, and we're looking for global changes, not acute changes. I'm looking to change the way the dog sees the world, going back to the idea of character. Like, in the Keeler method of training, talked a lot about putting character in the dog. And I
yes.
have a very complicated relationship with that book. Very complicated relationship with that book. I don't think I can speak about it clearly because there's so much of my history tied into it, and I have so many conflicting feelings about that book because it served me so well for so many years, but yet I try and read it now. I find so much of it so bad and so far from where I'm thinking now. So it's very hard for me to have a clear picture of it. But that idea of our training should shape the dog's character is still very much into what I do. What I have found now, though, is that I do not have to do that through being heavy-handed. I do not have to do that through being through so much pressure. Like, I don't have to start by assuming the dog is trying to get away with being disobedient, and my job is to prevent him from succeeding that goal. I can actually train in a cooperative way, not an adversarial way. And those are all things that are super important. But one of the things that I think we've lost, and I know you have things you want to get to, so let me make this point and we'll move on.
Okay.
Um, but one of the things that I think we have lost as modern, competitive, flashy style obedience has become more popular, uh, as the operant model has taken over the obedience, where we're trying to get these really flashy, precise, quick responses, we are losing something in that, which
Hmm.
is why we have so many good trainers now, excellent trainers, who don't believe obedience is valuable for behavior modification anymore. And the reason is not because obedience is not valuable, it's that their approach to obedience is not teaching those four things. Right? Their
Yeah.
approach to obedience is not
Agreed.
teaching those four things. The way that I teach obedience is designed specifically to teach those four things. And I want to do it in a cooperative way, in a way that's fun for the dog. But if I have to choose between a flashier, faster sit and a dog who understands how to read the room or understands how to be bored, I'm going to choose the one. I'm going to make the choice for the dog to learn to be bored rather than learn to be flashy. But if
Yeah.
my goal is to have the most crisp, the most perfect, the most beautiful obedience in the world, I'm going to make the different choice. And there's nothing wrong with that choice. I'm not saying that's bad or that's not good or that's something you shouldn't do. But no, when you make that choice, you make that decision for a pet dog, you're going to have to find a way to put that in elsewhere.
Yeah, there's trade-offs. There's trade-offs for
Mm-hmm.
whatever choice you make, and
Yeah.
an operant is in an acoustic chamber. Essentially, it's like you said, acute, right? Where we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at a more global, um, existing in the real world, not an
Mm-hmm.
acoustic chamber with our dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of which, my dog back here, I don't know if you can see her. She's just making these groans. Yeah, yeah. She's like
So you
making.
know how
She's like,
you know
oh my gosh, they're so
you want to know how
bored.
stupid I am, Bill? This is how
But
stupid I am. I started looking, like trying to see the see the see the screen at a different angle to see around you,
and
like an
I'm
idiot.
as
Like
I'm putting the screen down, I'm hitting my power button too, so I don't.
yeah,
I was about ready to shut you off, but
yeah,
yeah, that's.
yeah.
But she knows that I do these things, and she's just like, man, this guy keeps talking. But the dogs were out there eating too, so she's like, they're like
Hmm.
a little whine. But let's get to this comments, and then I want to get to the comment you
Okay,
made earlier. But dude, I
okay.
love this. Board, resist temptation, regulate emotion. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with you, especially with the board part too. Like these
Hmm.
dogs exist with us in the human world. It's not always going to be exciting. It's going to be boring. It's
Hmm.
and the regulated emotion. I mean, I think that it all ties into each other,
Hmm.
right? It's not just one. It's all of them. Resist
Hmm.
temptation, that has to do with regulate emotion. Being bored
Hmm.
has to do with resist temptation. Being bored with is regulate emotion. Being bored means read the room. Read the room means, I mean,
Hmm.
they can be together. They can be all four. They can be just one. They can be three. Like it's,
You, yeah, you almost can't strengthen one without strengthening the other three.
yeah, you can't. Yeah, I love it. And then I'm gonna I'll see if I can put up a link to this book. I think it's $100, but it's, I mean, Werner. Here, I'll put it back up here, you guys. I
Handbook
can't
of
recommend
operant
this book.
conditioning.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it, Chad. Um,
Okay, appreciate it.
but Ivan and I are going to get into this book when Ivan's coming on, and then the other live stream I'll be doing here real shortly, you guys, on the 9th of March is we're going to be talking euthanasia with a veterinarian that provides in-home care that I have utilized many times for my clients here. Her name's Dr. Sarah. She's an amazing person. And I'm like, look, we need to do a live stream about this. So we're going to be talking about end of life care for dogs, palliative care, all that stuff on the 9th. And then I'll let you guys know when I'll be talking to Ivan again. But let's get to these comments. Do you know Kashi?
I don't
Kashi
believe so.
he's out of India, man. He lives in India and he is amazing with dogs. Hello, Chad Mackin. At some point in this conversation, can you explain a little bit more about why you prefer clarity over structure? I think we just did in a way, and not perhaps as a stimulus component in training. I remember you talking about it on your social media, and it got me thinking.
So I think what this question is about, Kashi, thank you for the question. Um, so there used to be a thing that dog trainers would say is that dogs crave structure, right? That was a big common thing that people said. And this is something that Jay and I have both talked about a lot is I don't they don't necessarily crave structure, but they crave is clarity. Now it happens to be that structure is a great way to create clarity,
Yep.
right? Like, but it's not the only way to create clarity. And so my point is not to say that I prefer clarity over structure. Um, so if you think about strategies and tactics, right? So strategy is your overarching goal, and tactics are the individual steps you take to get there. Like, so strategy in say war doesn't change very much, right? But the tactics you use to achieve those strategies do. So like what we want is we want a dog to understand what's going to happen. We want the dog to feel like, so one of the things I've said for a long time is that you cannot exercise your right to self-determination unless you have a reasonable expectation of what the consequences of your choices are going to be,
The outcomes.
right? Yeah, if you can't reasonably predict the outcomes, you cannot reasonably make choices that you can't control your life if you can't predict outcomes, right? So structure is the easiest way probably to give that. Like if you walk your dog at the same time every day, you feed them the same time every day, you have a ritual for everything you do. So I think Jay said one time on dog training conversations that his dogs know whether they're going with him or not when he leaves the house based on how he's dressed, right? Or something along those. He's created these very clear structures that allow the dog to predict what's going to happen. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing I get concerned about is people focusing specifically on the structure as opposed to what the structure gives the dog, which is clarity. So like I guess it'd be one way to say if you have a kid and you want them to eat healthy, so you teach them to eat the same meal every day, but it's a perfectly balanced, nutritious meal, that's going to give them structure and good nutrition. But there are other ways to make sure they get good nutrition than just structuring their diet. You can teach them how to make good, nutritious choices. You can teach them about how to eat correctly. So I think if we create like here's an example, and I talked about this on the last podcast I did. One of the first board and trains I ever did was, it was a pair of Cocker Spaniels, came from the same family, and one of them they told me was just a happy-go-lucky normal cocker, just needed some obedience. The other dog was very timid and very scared of things, and they said he'd been abused, which I now know that that's probably not true, but back then I still bought into that. Like they told me the dog had probably been abused, and I believed them because I thought they knew their dog better than me. And so like early on, I had been told by my first mentor, who was a scumbag piece of shit, but I was told by him that you only use food for puppies and dogs who have been abused. So I'm like, okay, I trained one dog the way I knew how. The other dog I trained with hot dogs, or tried to train with hot dogs. He wouldn't take the hot dogs. He wasn't getting very far. Like this is maybe the first board and train I ever did, and I'm keeping it at my parents' house because I'm still living with my parents at the time. And I'm a week into it, and I've got zero progress on this second shy dog. Zero progress. Like nothing's happening, and I'm like, fuck, man. Okay, uh the hot dogs aren't working. And so more out of frustration than wisdom, I go, you know what, I'm just going to train this dog like with any other dog and see what happens. So I get the dog out, put him on the choke collar, and I walk around. I give the dog, I'm not grossly heavy handed. I am aware this dog is a little more sensitive, so I'm being softer than I normally would, but I give him a little leash correction here, a little leash correction there. And after 3 or 4 of those leash corrections, this dog comes right out of his shell, and all of a sudden he's working for me, and now he's taking hot dogs. And so what happened there? My thinking at the time, and still is to this day, was that what this dog really needed to know was what's going to happen when we disagree. How am I going to handle that disagreement?
Mm.
And if I show him that I'm going to handle that in a way that is fair and clear, he goes, okay, I can work with you. So that was a case where I didn't have structure, but I created clarity. He understood what his choices were, and he understood what the consequences or the outcomes of that choice would be. And he went, "I can live with that." And so I think that there's nothing wrong with structure. I just think structure is a means to an end as opposed to the end itself.
Well, and I think structure is a
So
means to clarity as well,
yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
It's just
It's
not the
it's one of the
emphasis, right? The emphasis
yes,
should be on the clarity, not the structure, right?
right.
Because if you rely too much on structure and then the structure goes away, then what, man? Like we have a
Mm-hmm.
problem because now this dog has
Yeah,
relied so much on the structure and not enough on the
right.
clarity that they fall apart.
Yeah. So as long as you're using structure to create clarity and not just thinking structure is the thing the dog's craving, then you're cool.
Cool. Jessica was here. Love you,
Hi, Jess.
Jessica. And God bless your George, man. When whispers, and a lot of these are just comments. When whispers get a behavior change, you have arrived, dude. We've had some
Hmm.
trolls show up here too, man. That I've had to
Oh,
delete
good.
their comments, but yeah, I
Oh,
love
good.
them. Root of behavior mod genius. Welcome, dog walk
Mm.
rehab from YouTube. We got a lot of new listeners from YouTube. That thank you for being here, you
Mhm.
guys. I don't ever teach like necessary. It's insulting. What unnecessary? Like sit down. Okay.
Mm.
That's their indication of terror. Okay, J Jack's here. Um, There's evidence that dogs were domesticated. Yeah, they might have been domesticated, but what we were talking about was animal rights, right? They've been domesticated.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We live with dogs, and it's been argued that we wouldn't be with us as a civilization going from nomadic to historical pastor or past, what is it, pastoral, whatever, without the
Agrarian,
help
yeah.
agrarian, without the help of our dogs to with herding breeds and being able to settle down and raise livestock with our
Yeah,
dogs and protection as well.
there's a really good YouTube channel that I like that's not about dogs at all, but it's called Gut Sick Gibbon.
Gut sick gibbon.
And yeah, and it's just this girl Erica, she's a PhD candidate um uh uh in human evolution. And she spends a lot of time debunking uh, young Earth creationism. Uh,
Okay.
and but she's got this real. I shared this on my Facebook a few weeks ago. She's got this really cool video just about the evolution of dogs
Okay.
that is really fascinating. And yeah, it talks about. I mean, it was really fascinating. It's way more interesting than I thought it would be. But I love her channel. She's really a good teacher. She explains really complex things in a really nice way, in a really clear way. And even when she has these debates with these young Earth creationists, like she's never mean. Rarely. Sometimes she's a little mean, but she one of the things she says is that she meets them on their terms. She takes their claims seriously and evaluates them seriously rather than just writing them off. And uh, I really enjoy her content. So there's a free plug for her. She's got way more followers than I do, but there's a great video. She has a great video on the evolution of human and dog together, the co-evolution of human and dog. It's the domestication of dog. It's really, really fascinating.
I put up a link to
So,
that video in the comments down below. I found it.
okay.
Awesome. John was here with us. We have people from
Hey,
Germany.
John. Wow. Cool.
Frustration begins with
Yeah.
understanding ends. That's what
Yeah.
we highlighted that
Yeah.
earlier. Yes. How
Yeah.
do we communicate with Helen Keller? I mean, our nonverbal dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. They were woo-woos. Okay. Fuck the quadrants. Even the for trainers coming last in line, close to it, neglects emotional capacity of the dog, reduces them to just to another object. And I think, and these are some things to consider. Like when I heard about the animal rights movement, like all this stuff was written before animal rights, and it really changed the way that we perceive our animals. And from even slaughterhouses, so, I mean, even though these animals are going there to be harvested, it's still we need to have consideration for our animals, and I think that it shows that when we have a caring society, that all lives get better, not just human lives. J Jack says, "Fuck that! Don't talk to your dog. Don't touch your dog. That advice can kiss my entire ass." Don't hold back, Jay. Tell us how you really feel, bro. That's what I'm always saying to him. I'm like, dude, don't hamper your emotions, man. Listen, look at Jay Jack's got to run, so he'll listen to the rest of the AM. Yeah, man, that's pretty much. I mean, and I put up a link. Here is that. Let me share this screen, and then I'm going to share the screen with your comment. I wanted to get to the comment you made earlier. Because it really, I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to highlight this before I go. So here's that book, A Handbook of Operant Behavior. It is a $115 book, worth every penny. But do you know what they do have? I think they had a Black Friday sale or something where it was $90, you guys. So there
Cool.
is sales every once in a while on this. This is a collegiate. They have a lot of great collegiate books here, you guys. So, and it reads like a college level textbook. So it is a arduous read, but it is well worth it. And even just like some of the pages are, I mean, they just blow your mind. So thank you, Ivan, for recommending this book. And then let me share this tab instead. So this is what Chad, more than 3 hours, because we've been talking for a couple hours, but I wanted to get to this comment that you made today. So some days it's hard to ignore the stupid. Well, maybe it's not stupid. Maybe it's weaponized distortion of truth. Maybe it's sincere ignorance balanced on a raft of deep, deep incuriosity, but it's there. Propaganda is a poor excuse for rational interpretation of confirmed facts. Absolutism is a poor excuse for rational thought. I'm never sure anymore if I'm dealing with a well-meaning zealot who has been flim
Flip
flammed.
flam.
Flim flammed. I don't see that one often
Yeah.
by slick liars, or if I'm dealing with a fully aware flim flam salesman. Both appear sincere, but only one of them is. However, they are both dangerous. Both will put a face of sincerity and try to fill your head with all sorts of images of thousands of dogs being hurt or even killed because their owner hired a dog trainer who uses methods they don't like, or in some cases because they hired a trainer who didn't use the method they like. This is mostly bullshit, and anyone with a modicum of curiosity and common sense can see through it. Sure, there are bad trainers out there. They range from being merely incompetent to being malicious and actively harmful, but most are competent and compassionate. Most of us love dogs and want what's best for them. Truth is, you'd be hard pressed to find any professional that spends more time studying their work than dog trainers. Our podcast list is likely full of dog training content. Our Audible library will be filled with books about behavior. Most of have enough physical books about dogs and dog behavior to embarrass their local library. We think deeply about our work and love nothing more than talking about it with other people who care just as much. So when you see someone trying to vilify entire groups of trainers by painting them as irrational and uninformed, ask yourself why. They know better, or at least they should. They know better. At least they should. The information is available. It's easier to tribalize and vilify and beat up on those straw men. It's much harder to have a real conversation with real people who might know something you don't. But when attention is currency and outrage is the ledger, there's a very little value in substance. There's profit in propaganda, and that's what makes truth a liability. Wise up, folks. There are dogs to help, and none of them are watching their socials. Dude, what a great post,
Yep.
bro.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Like it hit me. I follow a whole lot of force-free trainers because I like to keep my ear on the ground and know what's going on. Now it's okay. There's force-free trainers that I follow and like Denise Fenzi and Michael
of course,
Shikashio, and
of course.
some people who are doing good work force-free and they don't spend their time shitting on balanced trainers. I've had both of them as guests on my Patreon, and they were both wonderful people. And I've known Denise for a very long time, and I consider her. I mean, she's not in my inner circle, but she's in my dog training circle, and we've had plenty of offline conversations and a few online conversations. But I also follow some force-free trainers. I don't follow like Zach George or people like that, right? I don't follow force-free trainers who spend their time brigading on other trainers pages. Like I have this rule. I don't go to any dog trainers page and fuck with their living. I just don't do that. And I don't give people who do that the attention, right? I don't interact with them. So but there's a new crop of force free trainers that seem to spend most of their time making memes, low effort memes for the most part, about balanced trainers. Um, they're not brigading, they're not coming after, but they're using kind of a mean sort of sense of humor to try and degrade, and they're making intellectually spurious arguments for the most part. Um, and I see a lot of that, and it's very hard for me not to jump in. It's very hard for me not to join that conversation, which is exactly what they want. Right? They want me to call attention to their bullshit and give them more attention, and so I refuse to do it. Yeah, but that takes discipline. Again, making the right choice when the right choice is the hard choice. Because I want to jump in there so bad sometimes. Now I did a podcast. The first podcast I did coming back from my 5-year break was a pretty serious rant directed mainly at balanced trainers who are pulling the same shit. Like I acknowledge this on both sides, but I was a lot harder on the balanced trainers because that's my camp, so to speak. But it was a profanity laden rant that turned some people off, but it was cathartic for me because I've been sitting on it for a really long time and it had to come out. Um, but uh, but I have very little tolerance for the trainer wars, and I have very little tolerance for people who vilify whole groups of people. Um, uh, Yet allow for nuance within their own group. There's a really great book called "Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me,"
Hmm.
and uh, and it's about how we, tend to shift blame and whatever. And in one of the early chapters, one of the authors, there were two authors. One of the authors talked about their daughter going to kindergarten for the first day, and she comes home from school and she says that he asked her what she learned. She goes, "I learned boys are crybabies." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He says there were these boys that kept crying for their mommies and they didn't want to go into school, because they were crybabies. And he said, "Well, did any girls cry?" And she says, "Well, yeah, some did, but most of them didn't." Right. And so he pointed out already at this age of 5, she's already tribalizing and giving her in group more grace and more nuanced than the out group of the boys. Like at the age of 5, she's already made that decision that all boys are crybabies because some of the boys were crybabies. But don't you dare suggest that all the girls are crybabies because some of them were, because that's not fair, right? And this is the tribal nature of human beings. And when you recognize, again, going back to Kahneman, I wrote the book and I still do these things. You know that as a human being, you are hardwired for tribalism. You're hardwired to create us's and thems and not treat the thems very nice and treat the us's much better. That is your instinct. That is your biological wiring. And so it's very easy to do that. But again, if we're going to be a civilization, if we're going to be a society where we work together, we have to try our best to rise above that. And I try very hard to make sure that if I say something about force free trainers, if I call out bad behavior from force free trainers, I have to also recognize it in my own camp and call it out more, right? I
Yeah.
need to be harsher on my team than their team because I want my team to surpass them. I don't say win. My look on it is this is like, if I'm really educated, I can have all of the things that they have, all of the things that the force free trainers have, plus this other stuff that I can do that they can't. Right. Um, I don't, but that means I've got to learn what they do. That means I've got to, with curiosity, engage with them and find out what their best strategies are and adapt them to my own training. But if I'm too busy calling them names and saying things like, "Oh, they only manage dogs and they only drug dogs and they can't train any dogs, they can't help any dogs, that they're all liars and charlatans and con artists," if I'm saying that, that means I can find nothing of value from what they're doing, and that hurts my cause, because my
Amen.
cause is to be the best fucking dog trainer I can be within my specialty. Like I've never, like I talked at the beginning, I'm never going to be an IGP competitor. I'm never going to be a podium winning obedience trainer. I know that about myself. I'm not interested in being that guy, right? But I want to be the best family dog trainer that I can possibly be. And that means I got to know what they know. And I got to know what they know. And I got to know what these people know. I got to have cast a wide net. And I don't have time to go vilifying people because they do something I don't do or don't do something that I do. Right? Like, now don't get me wrong, there are some trainers that I want nothing to fucking do with.
Yeah,
There are
me too.
trainers that are complete shit. And I would love to see them banned from this industry entirely. Right? There are some of them. I'm not dropping names because that's not how I roll. But like, for the most part, most trainers in the world are just trying to do the best they can with the tools they have available. And I don't mean training tools. I mean intellectual tools. I mean knowledge. I mean experience. I mean compassion. I mean empathy. Like there are very few people out there who want to harm dogs. There's no trainer out there who wants to fail. Like there's no trainer out there who hopes that they piss off their clients and that they don't earn their money. So if somebody says, "Hey, I can do this a different way," I want to know about that. And maybe I
Yes,
go, "That's
amen.
not for me." Maybe I go, "That's not for me." But like, uh, so anyway, I'm following these force free trainers, and I'm finding their rhetoric very interesting, right? Because it's a different style of approach that's coming on now. Most of their shit is geared towards e-collars because that's what they really got their the bug in their ass about, and I get that too. Like if I didn't understand e-collars, I would feel that way too.
Well,
Um,
there's a live streamer that shocked his dog. Did you see that?
yeah,
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 and I think
yeah.
that that lit a fire underneath the, um, I mean, I mean, who knows what color or whatever he was using, but I
Mm-hmm,
remember sending that out, and I don't even know the live streamer's name, but once I saw the reels keep
mm-hmm,
showing up on my page when this happened, I was like,
mm-hmm,
"Oh man, this isn't good." And he's not a
mm-hmm.
trainer. He was a live streamer on
Yeah,
Twitch, and
yeah,
he, but that's, but yeah, go yeah. I could see
yeah.
why it's geared a lot towards the e-collar because it's going to get exposure, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get
Mm-hmm.
like
And,
you said,
and and it's low hanging fruit.
and it's
Like
low
it's low
hanging
hanging
fruit.
fruit. Like it is the most easy tool to vilify. Like all you have
A,
to do is, well, they're shocking the dogs, and most people
Hassan,
go,
that's
well,
the
that
guy's
sounds bad.
name. Yeah.
Most people are gonna go, well, that sounds bad. Of course it is. Like of course it's an easy low hanging fruit. Um, but the thing is they're not engaging with the actual reality of balance training. And a lot of these are crossover trainers. Like they used to be balanced and now they're not.
Hmm.
And now and it's just like somebody who quit smoking. Like they're the worst, right?
Or went from Catholic to Protestant or Protestant, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I get it. You had a life changing experience, and you think that you had a life changing experience, and it's made you a happier person. I hope it's made you feel like a better person. I hope again, and I get that. Like more power to you. But it's just like the same thing, man. If my car breaks down, and I have a problem with it, and then next week someone says, "Hey, my car is broken down," I'll be like, "Oh, check your fuel pump. That's what's wrong with my car." That's called the availability bias, right? That's in Kahneman's work, right? You got to work past that. Like I told you the story about my dog Jesse
uh-huh.
and how that broke me, right? I told you that story, and if I could have after that story, I could have gone, I'm never punishing a dog again. I could have after that story decided I was going to be a force free trainer. And I would become a better trainer after that. I absolutely would have become a better trainer after that. And then what would I think? I would think that the fact that I became a better trainer because I went force free. And so now I'm going to be evangelizing. I don't hate you, Bill. I love you. I want you to succeed. And I know you'll be better if you get rid of these tools you have and learn how to do it this way because it made me a better trainer. Right? I totally get that. I totally get that. But instead, I went, hey, I better get better about how I use force. I've got to change the way I see dogs. I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I did do some serious restructuring of how I thought about dogs. And I've been doing that ever since. And just because I was using punishment in an abusive way doesn't mean all punishment is abusive. Like those
Yes.
two things, right? And I get that you get so revulsed with your own behavior that you go, I'm never going back there again. And if you know what, fucking a, if that's the only way you can guarantee you don't abuse dogs is you don't ever put a prong collar or an e-collar on a dog again, then rip it, go for it. I'm proud of you. I am proud that you made that choice to protect dogs. Like you know your limitations, you made a good choice. Way to go. Help dogs the best way you can. If you don't trust yourself with these tools, don't fucking use them. I'm 100% support of that. I have your back 100% on that. And if somebody tells you you're a shithead for not doing that, I will step in and say, no, this person is doing the best they can with the tools they have available. They know their limitations and I don't know them better than they do. I'm going to support them. I'm 100% behind that. The problem is when you go, because this worked for me, that's the best course for you too. That's when you cross a line. That's when you go from being, I have found my problem and I have solved it, and now you're saying that my solution is your solution too. Fuck that. That's not true. Like it's not
Yeah.
necessarily true, right?
Well, it's
So
the mirroring aspect of, that it's a very limited view of this worked for me, so it's going to work for everybody.
Yeah,
And
it's
it doesn't take into effect that everybody's different, man. And what do they
yeah,
say? A variety is the spice of life. There's a variety of human beings, and it also takes the scope of realizing like no, this was me in this moment, and I need to readjust and I need to reapproach and be better. But I also think that we can learn something from everybody. I mean, we also can teach something from everybody, even if we learn that this person's an ass, or
yeah,
it's just taking that moment of. And I think that this is where we distill the truth within us too. Is like, do I have a barrier of beliefs that is not permitting the information to come in? Like, have I built this barrier of beliefs that now I cannot see it? The information's bouncing off this belief before it's disseminated in my critical thought
yeah,
process and being assimilated into um, my knowledge base that I was wrong, or that I could do this differently. and
hmm
and and I think that's the reevaluation of and the introspective work of looking not just at ourselves, but also the beliefs that we hold, and
hmm
and making sure that that belief is not a great wall around us.
yeah. No, I mean it's I think self-imposed ignorance is a really, really common thing.
Hmm.
And like when you see that moment, you've been doing this for a long time, like as a trainer, when you've been doing it for a long time, or even when you're new at it, right? I think there's two different ways that this happens. Like when you're really experienced, you've been doing things a long time, and then you see something that makes you go, "Holy shit! Everything I believe is built on a misunderstanding."
Yeah,
Like that's fucking terrifying. That's
but
terrifying, and it's much easier to close, to plug your ears and nah, 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 I don't see it, I don't hear it, keep doing what I'm doing. But that's not the mature thing to do. The mature thing to do is go, hey, like for example, I told you before I used to be a very dominance based trainer, right? And then I started doing socials, and I saw things that weren't supposed to happen,
yeah,
right? Like because I had always believed, I was told my clients that if a lower on the hierarchy dog were to ever show tooth to a dominant dog, it would be a very bad day for that dog. The consequences would be swift and terrible, is what I would say, right? But then I have it on video. I said a dog who's clearly running the room, put some pressure on a smaller dog, a more submissive dog, puts too much pressure, dog goes, "Argh!" And the submissive, or the dominant dog backs away,
it's like, whoa.
makes a couple circles, and comes back and tries again. He didn't punish that. He said, "Oh shit, dude, sorry," because that's what good leaders do when they scare people. If a good leader makes you uncomfortable when they don't intend to, they go, "Oh, dude, I am so sorry. That's not what I was going for." And they approach from a different angle. And this idea of the alpha dog being a bully is bullshit. I'm not gonna say hierarchies don't exist, but I'm saying what we think of as hierarchy is not how dogs see it. And
I didn't
and
realize
and
that
I had
alpha male entered the vocabulary or vernacular in the 90s.
yeah, yeah.
It's new.
No, it's not.
It isn't
But no, it's been I mean, well, like
alpha
I
male.
don't consider the I don't consider 90s new. That's 30 years ago, man.
Oh
Like
yeah. Let me date myself here.
but
Yeah, but
yeah.
that
But
but
like I
that
mean, I
seemed. I
I
thought it
guess
was always here. I thought it was always a term that people would use as alpha male. Right? Is
it's become something different in the 2010s or the 2020s. It's become this different dude bro thing, which is completely not related. You have your fucking Andrew Tate bullshit, and that's not what I'm talking about. Like so David Meach wrote the book, uh I want to say in the 60s, maybe the 70s. I have a copy of it. I went and found it for a project I was working on. But in that book, he quotes a study that was done in 1945, which is where the alpha wolf idea came from. It was
okay.
1945. Okay. which is where most of what we misbelieve about dominance comes into play. That's been debunked millions of times. But the only thing I'm going to say about that is if you go back and read the study, you'll find out that there are different species of wolves in that group. Like this was not a pack. This was a bunch of captive wolves thrown together in and he talks about it very clearly that these are not a cap. This is not a pack, an organic pack of wolves. This is a bunch of wolves that are thrown together, which is where a lot of the misunderstandings come from. That's all I'm going to say on that. Like you can do the research yourself. Um, it's not. Like it's out there. If you're curious about why the dominance theory, the way we've learned it, is not correct, that information is available for you. If you're not curious, it doesn't matter what I say. You're not going to look it up anyway. If you are curious, you can find it. Like it's again, hierarchies exist in any social structure. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying they're not what we think they are. But anyway, I found that out when I saw the alpha dog do something different than I thought he should do, than what I predicted he would do, than what my model predicted he would do. And I could have just gone, it doesn't exist. I mean, that's a weird fluke. But instead I had to go, well, maybe my model is wrong. And that's scary shit. That's scary shit. But if you want to be, if you're dedicated to the truth and not towards your own opinions, you got to reevaluate what you believe. That's one place that's really hard to do it. The other place that's really hard to do it is when you have imposter syndrome. When you're brand new and you've been given the solution by your mentor or your teachers or whatever, and you feel like you know everything, and then something doesn't go right, and that's scary as hell because you had an answer until yesterday.
Yeah.
And now you don't. And
I
those are the
was wrong. That's
yep. But
yeah.
the problem with when you say that is in something like dog training, and I agree with you, we have to be able to say that, but when you're dealing with something like dog training, that I was wrong is not just I made a mistake.
Hmm.
That is now I no longer know what to believe about the thing that puts food on my table.
Well, and I need to abandon all hope and everything and go to this camp or and it's in the 1800s. So yeah, this you're absolutely right. Like I'm talking about as it was used in the term of like
Good call,
calling
by the way. Good call to this,
human. Yeah, yeah,
Andy. Good
yeah,
call. Yes, you're right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
What I'm talking about is like when it was adopted to human, like calling humans the alpha
Mm-hmm.
males, business
Yeah.
leaders, and that
Mm-hmm.
that's what I meant. But yeah, you're Andy's right with the 1800s, and then the 1938 and 1940s, um, pertaining to wolves and animal
Mm-hmm.
behavior. Yep, and then yeah,
Yeah.
Andy, and then here's Teresa. Do you know Teresa?
I don't know. I don't
She's
know.
one of the most amazing
Yeah.
people on the face of the earth. Especially
Then I probably don't
truly.
know her because I would remember her then if that's true,
Oh,
and I have no
dude,
doubt.
one more question for you. I'm glad that I
Yes,
thought
sir.
about this. IACP 2026. Will you be there?
I'm speaking.
Okay, you will. So that's a
So
yes.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed you at the last one, man, and I got to tell you, things have changed, and it's for the better. For the better, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and hanging out with you, and I was pleasantly surprised at the new. I mean, it's the old IACP with all the old people. We're just getting old, dude. Like it's crazy to
So
see we're getting
so
older.
here's the thing. Here's my thing with IACP,
No, he
like
doesn't
with
know me.
conference. Uh, here's the thing with conference. I God, I was going to conference back when they were all at Hutto, like all at Triple Crown,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
now
I was
Star
there.
Mark, right?
Yep.
And what I loved about conference back then was there was so much time to just talk with dog trainers. Like because they didn't have that many presenters and everybody presented in the same room, so you didn't have to choose between which you didn't have the conversation. Well, who are you going to see now? Oh, I saw them yesterday. I'm going over here to see this person, right? Like
Yeah,
everybody saw the same thing at the same time. So you come out to your breaks and you could all just talk about what you'd learned or what you'd
and
heard.
catering came
And
there too.
yeah. And there were long stretches between them, 15, 20 minutes between between speakers, so you could have plenty of time to digest and converse and this stuff, and you got to know people. And then, if you went to the hotel, if you're at the conference hotel, you go down, you get bored, you go down to the lobby at 1 in the morning. There's a pocket of dog trainers just talking all night long, talking and drinking usually, and it was just this great community. And so Mark Goldberg has this thing, like he says, like when you go to a restaurant, uh, when you go to a restaurant and it's like a little hole in the wall family restaurant, it's you start to feel like it's kind of your restaurant. You even have your own table, and the wait staff all knows you when you walk in, and you know all of the wait staff, and you know the menu, and you know when things change on the menu, and then they start to get popular, and maybe they have to expand to a new location, and before long, it doesn't feel like your restaurant anymore, right? And now you don't enjoy it quite as much. And this is where I started to be like at conference was uh I found a lot fewer connections at conference than I used to. And some
Okay.
of it is aging out. A lot of the people that I went to see, they're no longer with us, right? It's a different IACP, and that doesn't mean it's bad. It's not my club anymore, and I helped build this thing. Like I was like on the board of directors forever. And I
Yeah.
did like we talked about at the beginning. I did 2 terms as president, 2 terms as vice president. I was director of education. Like I was deep in there. And there are all these people there who don't even know my name, right? And not that they should. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like going, well, everybody's forgot me. Well, I'm not like on that pity party or anything like that. But it's a weird feeling. It's surreal to be anonymous in that setting where once I was, I don't want to say important because that's not really true,
It's like, cheers,
but
everybody knows your name.
yeah, there was anonymity wasn't an option for me there. Right. I used to be that I couldn't go anywhere without having tons of people coming to ask me questions about the organization or whatever. And or I haven't seen you since last year. Like I'd walk in and there'd be a ton of people ready to give me a hello hug and check in on me and see. And there was people that I couldn't wait to see. And
Yeah.
now I walk around there and I don't know these people. Their names aren't, they're not familiar to me. I'm not familiar to them. And it's completely different. There's so many people there, and they're all so it's just different. I don't know what else to say. I think it's a great experience. But it's big. But the call of conference has been a lot less for me because a lot of it is bittersweet for me because it's not what I remember, and that's just me. That's not that people should go. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't go.
No, no, I get what you're
I
saying. Like,
think
but I think this is. I mean, I think that it's a valuable organization still, and I
yes,
think that
absolutely.
we are the voice of reason in some aspects. And not only that, but when these people that are on the force freed side, when they if they do attend the conference, a lot of times, like the Michael Shikashio, when he mentioned about how welcoming and how the
Hmm.
conversation that we did have, but it is more scattered. Like I
Hmm.
remember, and I mean, we definitely had the meetings, but not like it used to be, where it would be just
Hmm.
that's all we spoke about. Like there was also fun things that weren't dogs that we did, and we'd meet somebody out on the street and it'd be just two of us over here,
Hmm.
and so it wasn't. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Chad, but
Yeah, it's
I
just it was a different time, and it's like you get it's like going to your high school reunion. It's never gonna feel like you think it's gonna feel,
no. Well, I
right?
look forward to
And
seeing you, and I mean, we'll see what happens at this Newport Beach, and I've never. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I was impressed, but I also last time I
what?
went was before pandemic, so I didn't attend for a few years, and then I went
Yeah,
back
me too. I
just to
haven't
feel
been
it
since the
out.
pandemic.
You haven't
Yeah.
been since the
So
pandemic?
Yeah. What did you like most about the new conference?
I liked hanging out with Jay.
Eh,
Like
That's not
like the,
new.
that's it. Just see, oh, like of just seeing everybody, seeing
Yeah.
Cindy, seeing Nelson,
Mm-hmm.
Leslie, um,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing how old we are, seeing
No,
how
there.
old we are, and how, but also I enjoyed meeting the new people. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed seeing the fire in their eyes. I love seeing the dogs, and I love the aspect of just the passion. Like, I see myself in so many young trainers, and it just
Mm-hmm.
reminds you of how hungry we were, and I mean, we still are, but it's a little different now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like the food. I like the products too, man. Like going down there and seeing all these different,
Yeah.
like they had these scent boxes that I was like, this is way cool, man. Like, and then also picking out the problems. Like, well,
Mhm.
this is cool, but what if you're training for
Right.
electronics? What if you're training for this? And um, and then there's these guys there that they offer a service of they're poo guys, so that you can do poo samples and send them in, and it just added value that you can provide your clients. Um, I did like the gala. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
like
always
the
fun.
I like the speakers, but I wasn't. I mean, I did like Dr. Uday, Melanie. I liked
Mm-hmm.
Michael Shikata, but there was some things I was like, yeah, okay, and who else did I really? I mean, some of the stuff was kitschy, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to explain it. But just connecting with people was probably, if I have to boil it
That's
down to one thing, is just connecting with people, shaking hands, being in the same room with people that I love, and reminding myself that the people that do the same thing that I do, I really like them.
that's really nice, Bill. I like that. So here's something that a lot of people don't know about me, and you wouldn't guess it if you've been listening to this whole fucking thing we've been doing. Because like I'm pretty opinionated and I'm pretty bold in the things I say. Um, but I'm actually a very shy person. Like, I'm not likely, unless I'm in a position where I'm paid to talk to people, like to present, or in this case, like I've been invited to present or to have this conversation with you, and I know you, I've known you for a long time, we're friends, so this it's different. But like, if I'm in a position, if I'm at a conference like that, I am rarely going to go up to a stranger, start talking to them. I'm not
Okay.
that guy.
I am
Like
that
like
guy.
yeah, I know you are, Bill. I know that about you. Which which I'm the kind of guy that I'm going to sit quietly myself because I don't want to bother people. I don't want to intrude on people. I want to give people their space. So like it used to be when I went to conference, I had online conversations from the socials before I went there, and I knew these people. I had relationships with them before. Like I knew their name from the email list and then from the triple R list. Um, uh, I knew a lot of people there. Now I don't know anybody, and even at triple R, I wasn't gonna go up to strangers and talk to them at that time when we were doing dog training conversations. I wasn't going to, but enough people knew my name that they wanted to come talk to me, so I didn't ever like the last time I went to conference. I like Jay was there and Goldberg was there and a couple other people, but Heather and
Yeah, Heather was there this
Larry.
last one.
Yeah, she's at everyone. I think she's the most dedicated conference goer in the world. But I think even with those people, even with Jay, it was so hard to have a conversation with him because like people had forgotten about me, but they hadn't forgotten about Jay. And every time we try and talk, somebody's coming up wanting to ask Jay a question, or like it's the worst place to catch up with an old friend if that old friend is Jay, right? Like because everybody wants their time with him. So um I think maybe my not wanting to be intrusive on people uh, affected my enjoyment the last time because I didn't walk away feeling like I connected with a lot of people. So
Okay.
all that's a way of saying, hey, if you guys see me at conference, come up and say hi if you want to, because I'm not gonna pester you with my presence. Uh, um, so yeah, I think I'm looking forward to seeing you two there, Bill. It's gonna be
Yeah, it's
fun.
gonna be fun. Awesome, bro. Well, we've been at this for over 3 hours now.
Jesus, it flew by. What did I say in the post you read? Like we love nothing more than talking dogs with other dog trainers, and that's what we've been
Well, and
doing
I'm
for
sure
three
that we
hours.
could go for another 3 hours if we wanted to,
I
but
could, I could for
yeah,
sure, but
yeah, we could, but I got to pee, and my wife,
mm,
dude, I had the flu so bad last week, and guess what? I'm a giver, and so now my
oh
wife,
shit,
My wife has
Well,
it, dude. So I'm gonna go
so
make
she's
sure.
a saint for letting you do this while she's suffering. Yeah, go take
I'm
care
gonna
of her,
go
man.
care her. Yeah,
Go do your shit, man. Tell her I
dude.
said thank you for letting me steal your time.
I will. I will. Thank you for letting me steal your time. Let's say goodbye to
No, it's been
everybody.
a
Oh,
blast.
oh wait. Here, look, he just showed up. Just got the end. We just
Mm.
talked about you, Nelson. Nelson's going to be there. Oh, I've been here the entire time and I loved it. You're dedicated, Teresa. We love you.
Nice
This was
meeting you,
great.
Teresa.
Yep, everybody's commenting. You guys are really interesting. Thank you for being here, or Evan. I was going to call him Cedar. Cedar was my old dog. Dude, every time I see that, I think of my old dog. All right, Chad. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody here, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the
Bye,
studio.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.